Hello, friends and brothers. This is Justin Jones with Masonic Improvement, joined here with several guests and my co-host, Brother Dennis Yates. Dennis, who's with us tonight?
You're on mute, Dennis.
See what happens when
Strong
you tell
start,
me to
Dennis.
mute myself. I know. Well, let's just get it out of the way now. Okay, so I am so excited because we have a slew of guests here tonight that are amazing brothers and people. Some of my favorite humans are with us. Even with Justin here, we'll still have a good time. So first and foremost, the guest of honor, and I would like to say it's our lightning bug, but it's not. Our guest of honor tonight is Brother Fluff. Now, Brother Fluff contacted us and said, "Man, I don't really have a vote. What can I do?" And it's like, Fluff, I'm glad you asked. So Fluff is on here to ask all the questions that you guys have, and we have our very special guest, our our conductor of the juices and the lightning that is striking upon all those over the Grand Lodge of Texas, as you can see in his background. Brother Roberto, Right Worshipful Roberto Sanchez. So stoked that you're here. Thank you so much.
Brethren, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Roberto, what do you prefer, the lightning rod or conductor of juices?
Look, just call me brother. That works fine with me, but I mean, I'll take whatever you need.
Whatever makes you happy in the moment, right? That's funny. And we do have representatives from the San Antonio Hat Company that we love and adore, and they're here, as well as like I said, some of my favorite humans in the world, and so all of us are here to field some questions. If you have some you want to post online, we're going to be fielding those, as well as letting Brother Fluff kind of guide this show with the thoughts that he has on Texas Freemasonry and the questions he thinks that many people are wanting to hear. And but otherwise, you will see all our other guests as they come on. Thank you so much for being here. And now I'm going to mute my microphone.
Just don't forget to unmute it next time. We're professionals here, David. Or Dennis, sorry. We're professionals. Don't see, I can't even say the dang names right. So, I'm done. We're good. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Hey, we get it all out of the way from the beginning, and now it's going to be quick for the rest of the way.
Just so we all know as well, I'm streaming live right now on TikTok. Right now we have 638 people in the room. We just started this thing off. So I'm going to give that same kind of introduction just again real fast. So tonight we are on the Masonic Improvement podcast, and we're fielding questions about Masonry. And this one is something that I kind of like and enjoy because it's not just what we're doing in our typical Blue Lodges, right? There's a lot of stuff that each individual Mason can bring to his Blue Lodge to engage Masonry and really live out the life of being virtuous and controlling your passions and whatnot. This is at the Grand Lodge scale. Now, as Dennis said earlier, I'm just a junior warden in both of my Blue Lodges right now. So I don't carry a vote with me when I go to Grand Lodge, but this will be my third consecutive trip to Grand Lodge. And, it's interesting to me because we do have that group of past masters sitting on the sidelines. They're like, oh, I don't even know why you're going because there's no reason for you to go. You can't vote. You can't do anything. It's not a place for you yet at this time, right? I see it as completely different, but I'm really interested. Right words for Roberto. Just curious, if you've watched Masonic Improvement Podcast, which those of you on TikTok, if you haven't, you need to watch the last couple of episodes because he was actually interviewed earlier. Did I hear right? You are a past Grand Master of a jurisdiction in Mexico. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm a past Grand Master and the sitting Grand Chancellor of the Gran Logia del Estado de Mexico, which is the state that basically surrounds Mexico City.
So when did you become a Texas Mason?
I was actually raised in Texas. I'm a Texas Mason first.
Oh,
I was
cool.
born in Mexico City, but I mean, like I have a house here and I have a house there, and I travel a lot for work, and
Right.
they needed my services, so I obliged. But I'm a past master here first before I ever did anything else.
That's cool. That's really cool. What is it about Texas Masonry that you love so much? Because if you guys don't know who this man is, he's spilling a lot of tea here lately, right? I mean, I thought about bringing my packets of Lipton, but I was afraid he was going to use it all, so I didn't want to bring him extra ammunition for the fire here. But what is it about Texas Masonry that you love so much? Because you're truly passionate about it. You're truly engaging the guys like myself that aren't past masters. What is the energy and drive that you are putting into this, and where does it come from?
Well, first and foremost, Texas is home, right? Like I was raised as a master mason at Gray Lodge 329 in Houston, Texas, almost 20 years ago. So Texas is home. Gray Lodge is my mother lodge. I'm a past master there. I'm a past master of St. Alvin's Lodge, also in College Station, and I'm sitting master of New Star Lodge, which is one of the newest lodges in Texas. Um, so Texas is home, but
Mhm.
I'm passionate about it just because masonry is masonry, right? Like we should be following the precepts, doing what we're taught, and I've been a victim of some of these shenanigans that you see going on. Like this is
Mhm.
not just something that I'm standing up because like this has happened for decades, and people just tend to walk away. But when I went through my turmoil, like it got real. I mean,
Right.
12 Masonic charges were filed against me. I was sued. My friends were sued. It was a debacle of epic proportions, and my name was like ran through the mud for 5 years. And it took that long to go through the wind. And now that I'm seeing the same tactics and the same playbook happen over and over and over again. And I've been calling every play as we've gone through
Right.
that it's just enough is enough. Somebody needed to stand up and speak out about everything that was happening and make sure that my Grand Lodge didn't get tainted and ran over and have the same machine of just unmasonic behavior become the norm. So that's where my drive is coming from, and that's the backstory of why I'm doing why I'm doing.
So I didn't mean to sip the Kool-Aid that fast, guys. Dennis, I feel worse than you. I'm jumping into hot topic like immediately here.
No, go for it,
With
man.
all of that drama, with all that drama and everything coming at you, um, why not just find another fraternity? Why not join Oddfellows? What is it about Masonry that you believe in so much? What is that one thing that just keeps on wanting you to push and make it better? Because a
Because
lot of guys with, if I had one or two charges come up against me that were legitimate, I would be freaking out. I would just step back and not even mess with the trouble. But what is it for you?
the support that I got was overwhelming. And I mean, I took the mantra of travel to other jurisdictions and visit every lodge and um, light is available that this lodge can bestow. I took that very literal. So I started traveling immediately. I mean, I've visited hundreds of lodges around the world. I belong to 30 lodges in several jurisdictions around the world. I mean, it's I took that very literal. And because of that, I had friends all over the world. So when I was going through my mess a decade ago, I had support from all over. So the good outweighed the bad.
Right.
And again, when my friends started getting sued, I had to pull it out for them. Like, so the brotherhood is what has been there because I
Mhm.
can name numerous stories where Masons have acted like Masons and people have followed the precepts. This fraternity is real. There's a
Yeah.
lot to it. So just walking away because you have a few bad apples, like that's not something that I'm going to do. So that's why I'm defending it. I mean that this is
Yeah.
this is the bottom line. It's the good outweighs the bad. There's more to this than that.
I love that because there's so many guys that will step away. I talk to people online all the time that it's like, I joined a lodge 20 years ago. Didn't find the brotherhood I was looking for, didn't find this that I was looking for, didn't get this, didn't get that. And so I just walked away. And it's like, well, did you fight for it? Did you push for it? Did you try for it? And a lot of times it's like, no, no, we didn't. We just kind of saw where it was at and decided to step back. But when you see something good like this and you really want to believe in it, and you really want to push it and drive it home, you have to get out there and be willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears. I
Oh,
mean, that's
absolutely.
just
Absolutely. We kind of touched about this last time I was interviewed by the same podcast. Justin brought up that same point. And I wrote a book about this, The True
yeah.
Masonic Experience. It's kind of about my journey, about how my lodge wasn't doing what I was expecting. And so
Mhm.
I traveled and brought that back to my lodge. And by the time I was master, we were averaging 80 people in a lodge that used to average seven.
Wow.
So in a matter of 6 years, 7 years that it took me to go through the line. We went from having an average of 7 to 10 people on a stated meeting to an average of 80. I had 120 at one of my meetings when I was master. Not because
Wow.
to see me, but because of the activity that the lodge was doing. Because I brought things from other jurisdictions or other lodges. I brought masonry back to masonry, and
Right.
so the masonry's out there. You just got to find it, and you can bring it anywhere. I mean, like I've seen little corners of the world where very rural areas that all of a sudden you get the right person in there and it catches like wildfire and the activity goes up. It's
Yeah.
just it's there. You just got to bring masonry. That's what bonds us all together. I mean, everybody has different hobbies. Some people like motorcycles. Some people like guns. Some people, I mean, but we're all masons.
Yeah.
So if masons practice masonry, you're
Mhm.
gonna have a hell of a lodge. End of discussion.
I think that something that you brought up is something that causes a lot of us to be interested in what we're doing right now, particularly because right now we really are in a renaissance of masonry. You know, the brothers that are coming in, they're looking for a different experience in life. They're looking for the rites of passage. They're looking for that apprentice mentor relationship that you can only get from an apprentice master. They're looking for the ritual. They're looking for the understanding of what's out there that they're not learning in their churches and in their communities. They're looking for a little deeper understanding of life, and because they've got all this information on the internet, right? And they're trying to go through it all. So all these young guys are coming in looking for those certain ways to understand life and become a man in their own right. And I think that that in itself is what fuels most of the brothers here, is because we want to make sure that that's the masonry that the brothers are getting, and not the kind that are trying to block uh, different aspects of the craft so that they can have control over what's being taught and what's being practiced in the lodges. And so I think that's a lot of the support that you're getting is brothers that are looking for that personal experience, that interpersonal relationship you can only get through Freemasonry, that you can't get in Rotary Club, you can't get it in Lions Club or Kiwanis, whatever, the Animal Club, right? You
Sure,
can't get it
absolutely,
there. You can
absolutely.
only get it in Freemasonry, and so you've got guys. It's not just people like us that are flamboyant and stuff. You've got brothers that are, 50-year Masons, 90 years old, saying we've got to we've got to be ready for these guys. We've got to give these guys real masonry. They care about this stuff. They just don't know how to get out there in front of people like we do with our technology.
I mean, you're absolutely right, Dennis. I mean, and I mean, tying the question that Brother Fluff and yourself asked just a second of tying those all together. I mean, there is no organization like Freemasonry. I am an odd fellow. I am a Knight of Columbus. Like I belong to the Rotary Club, though. I mean, it's not the same. It's not the same. Freemasonry is where it's at.
I'd like to make a comment to something. I think it's aligned with what Dennis said a minute ago, but Fluff made a comment that really got me thinking, because he mentioned if someone approached him with charges, he would feel inclined to back off, and I think that's what most people would do. It's the logical thing to do, is to back off. But my thought process at this point is a little different, because Freemasonry that weaponizes charges and promotes cronyism, that's not Freemasonry.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
And it's what's the alternative? I could face charges by standing up for what I believe in and possibly get kicked out, or I could keep my mouth shut, and sit through fake Freemasonry and hope that one day some Masonic Messiah will step up and save the Grand Lodge of Texas. And that's not going to happen.
No, you're right. The charges are going to come if they're going to come. Like, so if they're legitimate, if you did something wrong, I mean, you sit down and you face the music. But like when they came after me, they filed 10 charges, and then when they knew those were going to stick, they filed two more. So I had to defend myself for 12 charges for years. And I sat there and I faced the music, and I was going to let them win. I fought every one of them, and every one of them was proven to be false because they were all bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, and that's what they're doing now. It's the same story that they're doing with some of them. If there's a little bit of credibility, And that's what's happening this whole year, is that every charge that has been filed has been based on them not wanting a certain person to run for a position in office. That's the only reason they're doing this,
Yep.
is because they're trying to control the trustees. That's it. Look at who they're filing the charges against. I mean, it's been Jim Rumsey, it's been Brad Billings, it's been Justin Duty, it's been Rick Townsend. All people that are running for a board of trustees spot. Like, that takes their power away. This is the first time in a long time where the machine is not controlled that 6 board trustee. They haven't had the majority.
What's so important about controlling the trustees when the Grand Master could just do what he wants, regardless how the trustees vote anyway?
The trustees can rein them in. The way that our laws are written, the Grand Master is in charge of the Grand Lodge when not in session, but without vote of the trustees, it doesn't happen. The Grand Master can just say, I'm almighty. That's one thing that I will give to that big-ass law book we have, is that it does have a few checks and balances, and that's one of them. So our Grand Master does not have absolute power. If we were in Arkansas, when I went through my issues, I would have been gone, because Arkansas, the Grand Master has permission to just out them. And there's a lot of other jurisdictions that have that power, but Texas doesn't, right? So the trustees, if you're going to remove a committee man, the Grand Master can't just remove somebody. The trustees have to vote to remove that committee man out of the committee. So when I was a committee man, when I was under charges, the Grand Master, who filed 2 more charges against me, wanted to remove me, but the rest of the trustees were like, well, that's going to look bad, so we don't approve it. So I remained on the Fraternal Relations Committee for my entire term, because one guy wasn't able to remove me. So there are a few checks and balances, and that's where the power is that when it's not in labor, when the Grand West is not voting because the Grand Lodge is not in session, those 6 guys have the vote. They pay the bills. They vote to do the day-to-day operations of that business of that Grand Lodge. That's why there's an issue there.
Well, I was on the education committee last year, the Grand Lodge Education and Services Committee, and it was following in the footsteps of some of my 2 favorite men and Masons and my mentors. And man, it was an honor to serve. I was served for a couple of years on my own dime, just helping the guys traveling around all of Texas. And then I got on the committee, and then at the end of the year, the chairman says, well, I don't think that what you're doing aligns with what we want. And so if you don't request, if you don't retire on your own accord, then I'm going to suggest to the Grand Master and the trustees to vote you out, and I'll have that vote. I've already discussed it with them. So I cowered down at that point with Grand Lodge because I didn't really want to have that fight, and I really didn't want to serve on a committee that didn't want me there. Right? When you've got certain people there that just don't want you there, you just don't want to stick around. But but that's the last time I will ever let anybody tell me what my Freemasonry is going to be. That's the last time. I have a voice.
Your journey. It's your journey.
That's exactly right. And last time I checked, our fraternity was founded on the fact that there was tyranny and oppression by the kings and the rulers of all the lands, and more especially the clergy who ruled the kings, right? So there was this oppression because of no education, illiteracy. And so the whole idea was to educate each other and bring up the masses so that we no longer are threatened with tyrannical control. That's what we had this year. And anytime, I think you said it at one point, anytime, the very moment that someone is afraid to say what's on their mind under fear of retribution, that's the moment tyranny starts. Mm-hmm. And if any one person feels that way in our grand jurisdiction, then tyranny resides in our grand jurisdiction.
Didn't that revolution you're talking about initiate with people spilling tea?
Yes.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking about my favorite Freemason of all time, Paul Revere, and he was kicked out of Masonry for 8 years, and he still became Grand Master. everybody goes through a difficult Masonic journey sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
If Paul Revere can make it, so can Justin. I don't care what they say.
There you go. You have any more questions, Fluff? This has been a great conversation.
Let's see. I was kind of paying attention to TikTok there for a little bit. So I've lost my train of thought there, just some. But let me go ahead and just ask this, you know, for the guys like myself, why is it important that just regular everyday Master Masons come to Grand Lodge, get active in Grand Lodge, and start you know, pushing their ideas to some of the guys that are in charge, you know, the guys with the purple around their neck. What's the importance about with us being there?
Because this is your fraternity too. We're all Masons. Granted, the past masters are the ones that our jurisdiction has a vote and a voice. And we're one of the few jurisdictions that actually does that. Most jurisdictions around the US specifically, the Grand Master is appointed as Grand Steward or something along those lines. And if they keep their nose clean, they become Grand Master.
Mm-hmm.
And most jurisdictions, only the worshipful master and maybe the wardens have a vote. So most people don't go there. Texas is actually democratic in that place where we actually have a vote as a past master and you as a member have a voice. So if you see something in Masonry that's not what it's supposed to be happening, then you have a voice. It's your fraternity too. Talk to your lodge representative and tell them like, hey, I don't like what's happening here. Why is this being stifled? Why do we have a Grand Master that's telling us that we can't be seen on social media doing anything unmasonic, and I better not see you with a drink in your hand or a cigar, but then he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, like this is your fraternity too. And like Dennis said, like nobody's going to tell me what my journey is because that's my journey and that's your journey. And that's something that you have to embark upon yourself. So if you're not a past master, come to Grand Lodge. You still have a voice. You might not be able to vote or get up to the microphone and say your piece, but you can find somebody that can. I'm pretty sure you're going to find somebody that has your same train of thought. And if nothing else, like you're going to have a good time because Grand Lodge usually is a good time because that is fellowship from brothers from all over the state where we get together for one common cause to find out what the future of our fraternity is going to look like over the next 12 months.
There's something,
you know, the thing that I really enjoyed my first visit to Grand Lodge, when I was raised, I came to Lodge, you know, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed Mason. I have all these ideas that are going to save my Lodge, right? We're going to do a cornhole board tournament. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. And I threw everything at the Lodge that I possibly could, every opportunity I had to stand up and speak. I'm sure I was everybody's favorite at that time in my life. And a lot of times I would just get hit back with, well, no, we can't do that. Well, why can't we do that? Because Grand Lodge says we can't do that. So, you know, you're kind of raised up and you're like, Grand Lodge is the big bad wolf, you know, and they're coming to blow our houses down with their big old law book that is, I can't believe Texans have a law book that is actually that big. That just blows my mind. But I mean, you know, we're taught to kind of think that, oh, well, Grand Lodge is bad guys. Well, then when you actually go to Grand Lodge and you look at these committees and the jurisprudence committees and the means and ways and all these other committees that are set up, and it's like, we can't do this because of this and that and then this and that. You see how much research goes into it. You see how much dedication. And I think there's a lot of really good guys that put in a ton of volunteer hours on these committees to make sure that we're all staying within due bounds of what we need to be in. And so I was like, you know, I kind of have a really deep respect for the Grand Lodge and what it's going through. So for that, it changed my mind. And it made me start thinking, well, every Master Mason needs to go to Grand Lodge, whether he has a vote or not, if not just to see the pomp and circumstance, but to understand the history and what it takes to run a Grand Lodge as big as Texas. But this year really kind of kicked that in the pooch. I mean, it has been a hard year. You can't look at a guy who hops on you know, one of the social media groups and is like, what's going on with Texas? What's going on with Texas? It's like, man, I don't know. You know, take my San Antonio hat company hat off and just, I don't know. We're going into Mexico, I guess, you know?
Giddy up.
Could I chime in, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
sure.
Yes.
Because I think, Brother Fluff, a couple of points that you raised. When you say, I don't have a vote. You're the junior warden at your lodge?
Yes.
Yeah, so in Texas, if you were the only sitting officer that was in a station, then you would control the votes of the lodge. You would have 3 votes in Texas.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm just speaking for myself there.
No, I totally understand. But this is for the broader Masonic world that we're sharing this. Um, but also, the reason that I liked going before I had a vote was because of something else you said about all these ideas. Grand Lodge, not actually in Grand Lodge itself, where you get to see the pomp and circumstance and the processes, but it's also a marketplace of ideas where brothers, young brothers like you're talking about yourself, come in with idealistic, excited things that they want to do. And now that I'm a seasoned Mason, I've been here 16 years. Now that I'm 50, when these young guys come in with all these ideas, and like you said, it can be very discouraging when they hear, oh, well, we can't do that because the way that I think our generation that's now entering their 50s approaches that is, we can't do it exactly that way, but let's find a way to bring your idea to our lodge, to our district, or to the Grand Lodge. Let's work on that together. And Amen. One of the things, when we talk about that giant law book that we have, that giant law book reflects the history of Texas, when it was a very teetotaling, very authoritarian, where you could be punished by the church, even if it wasn't against the law, society. And those men wrote a lot of these laws. And we're getting to a place now where we have this attitude of, let's not punish, let's educate. Let's not go after people and knock them for having no ideas. Let's try and find a way to bring that and see what benefit it has for us. And that's one of the brilliant things, as Roberto pointed out, about Texas Masonry, is that we have a democratic process, so that when you get somebody who's elected as Grand Junior Warden and he starts making his way up, and it's clear that he's not open to changing some of the things that generationally have to be changed, whether it's because of technology or just because of the way people communicate these days. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking about electronically, I'm just talking about the way they speak to each other. Then we have the ability not only to correct what's in the law book, but to correct who is serving us in those top positions. I digress. Thank you for allowing me to chime in there.
No, thank you for.
We should always have that mentality that we can listen to the young brothers as they're coming in and embrace what we can and educate on what we can't, right? And instead of just always saying no because we're afraid of the work and the effort. These young guys have all this energy. Of us old guys, we're just trying to keep up, right? So instead of shutting them down, we need to be the biggest cheerleaders we can be, and help them with their confidence and help them to be the best Masons they can be within their lodge. And here's why: because you may not have a vote at Grand Lodge, but you do have a vote in your lodge as a Master Mason. And that vote carries all the weight, because if you think about it, everyone that's up there in Grand Lodge right now started right there where you are, and they thought they could get away with it there, and that's why they think they can get away with it where they're at. So if we did a better job in our lodges, whoa, sorry about that. I just shook the ground, guys. If we did a better job in our lodges of promoting the type of Freemasonry that we believed in, and that didn't just let it happen, then we might have a fraternity that's intentional with purpose, as it was always intended to be, instead of one that's reactive and oppressed by those who want to make it a narrow focused group of people. So I'll leave it at that and let y'all talk.
Hey guys,
look at that. Go ahead.
I want to chime in here for just a second. You realize we've got a guy right here on this cast with us. That's one of what we call the young Masons. He's the master of Hempstead Lodge, and he's only 24 years old.
Nice.
And he's one of those young guys that's done a phenomenal job of building and instructing and learning throughout the course of his Masonic career. It started when he was 18. Here he is, 24, master of a lodge, and he's going to be master of another lodge next year. And that's my son, Kyle Ryland. And, I think he's got a unique perspective because he's seen a lot of this turmoil since he started in Masonry. Because he's watched me and, watched Carlton and some of these other guys that have been a part of this fraternity. He met Roberto Sanchez whenever Roberto came and installed me a few years ago, and he knows that he sees what's going on. He's going to be at Grand Lodge. He's carrying his lodge's votes as the master of Hempstead Lodge. So, we've got a young guy here that has a unique perspective on exactly what's going on.
Kyle, turn on your camera, man. Fill us in.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Give us your 2 cents. That's a valid point. Make sure you turn on your mic too, though.
I'm technology
Don't be a
challenged,
dentist.
even though I'm young.
There you are.
Yeah, according to the numbers, I'm one of the younger guys in Masonry at 24. But, I've seen everything that's going on, whether it's the Grand Lodge politics, the Grand Lodge machine, if you want to call it. And it's not right. I have some very differing opinions on going all the way back to taxation without representation. I think it's really hard to charge per capita on guys that can't vote in Grand Lodge. It's just my opinion.
That's interesting.
Just for a comparison's sake, in the Grand Lodges in Mexico, right? So the Gran Loge del Estado de Mexico, every Master Mason has a vote. Every single Mason votes. And the Grand Master and the Grand Chancellor are the only 2 offices that are elected. Everybody else is appointed by the Grand Master, and the Grand Master serves for 3 years. But every single Master Mason has a vote at Grand Lodge. To each their own. I'm not suggesting that's what we do in Texas, but I believe Texas has a better route than most American Grand Lodges for sure. But Kyle, that brings up a great point. That brings up a great point.
3 years with the Grandmaster we had last year have been great, but it's not always a good fit. I'll just leave it at that. Carlton, did you have a
Can
comment?
you imagine 3 years with the Grandmaster we have right now?
I have no comment.
I can't imagine another month, much less 3 years more. Okay, or
Well,
2 more years.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with some of the guys that I see. Whenever I get my Texas Mason magazine, right, and I look and see who's available. I might be the weird one, but I actually read the resumes, and I'm interested in the resumes, knowing what's going on. And it's amazing to me that some of these guys have these huge list of resumes, and the dates that they served as master of this or master of that or chairman of this happen to coincide with some of the dates that we've had some of our greatest dips in the number of Masons, and it's like, that's not a number to run on to be proud of to me. Like, running on this program right here that didn't work in the 80s or 2000s is not a program that I want to be ran in the 2020s or 2030s as you're coming up through the Grand Line. So I think that a lot of guys have gotten their mission statements so ingrained in their minds, they're unwilling to step away, and they get to these positions and they're like, well, we're just going to do Masonry as usual. And Masonry cannot happen as usual, especially after the pandemic, post-pandemic. We have some serious things that we need to discuss as a fraternity, not only in Texas, but around the world. And then just with the advancement of the internet and social media and everything that's happening with this, there's other topics right around the corner that need to be discussed. So you can't just run it like, oh, well, every lodge is going to do a fish fry and that's what we're going to promote for brotherly love. Can't happen that way anymore. We have to move forward and get into this new stuff.
I think that's a very astute observation. And I am so glad that you are a junior warden in our great fraternity. I am ecstatic that we have somebody that cares enough to pay attention to what's going on with your Freemasonry, because you realize that no matter what's happening out there, it affects you in here. So, man, kudos to you. I love it. And you keep doing what you're doing. I just wanted to say that because that really made me happy.
Don't give me a bigger head. I can barely get in and out of this door. Don't do it.
Hey, there's no egos in this chat. Don't worry about it. Carlton, did you have something? I saw you pop in a minute ago.
We've moved past that topic. Let's keep rolling.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I wanted to backtrack a little bit talking about the topic of Master Masons going to the Grand Lodge even if they can't vote. So something that Dennis and I talk a lot about is officer leadership training. And there's an analogy here. Just follow me. And I always stress that every Master Mason should go to officer leadership training, regardless if you're going through the line or not. And the more that the lodge can send, the better, because they'll all go, they'll all learn, they'll get the buy-in, and they'll bring that back. If just one guy goes or two guy goes, they'll come back and they'll be inspired. They have all these great ideas, but they'll be told, well, that's not how we always done it. So they'll kind of get shot down and lose their enthusiasm. My point is, send as many Master Masons as you can to Grand Lodge. It doesn't matter if they can vote or not. If 2 or 3 past masters from your lodge go to Waco and come back pissed off, big deal. If 3/4 of your lodge goes to Waco and comes back pissed off, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, and it's not going to stand. And it's hearing about something versus seeing something are two different things. That goes right back to the OLT thing. You can come back and tell me about what you saw, but if I'm not there, I'm not sold on it. Send me to Grand Lodge. Let me see what happened last year during installation. Let me see what's going to happen this year, and I'll bring that back to my lodge. So the more people you can send, the more powerful that message that they bring back becomes.
We only learn by experiences. And if young guys don't experience what goes on at Grand Lodge, the good and the bad, they're never going to be able to learn to fill those chairs and be the right type of leaders for their local lodges, and express that voice when they are dissatisfied with what's going on at the Grand Lodge level. You've got to take everybody that you can.
So
Kyle,
has anybody besides myself done officer leadership training this year?
I haven't done
Not
it,
this year.
but
I haven't been to officer leadership training in several years, but I'm a current master of a lodge right now. This is my 4th go round.
I love what Brother Cody and the guys did. They tried, right? But if I have to hear the Cowboy Code of Honor one more time this year, we don't need a Cowboy Code of Honor in Masonry. It's not needed. We have the principal tenets. We're good. We have our precepts. We have our standards. We got what we need. No Cowboy Code of Honor.
amen.
Especially when I can walk into a $20 steakhouse in Lubbock, Texas right now and see that Cowboy Code of Honor at the buffet line. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need it in Masonry. We are above that in Masonry, in my opinion.
We should always act on the tenets
I love
that we learned in our very first degrees. If we can't act on those tenets that we learned in our first degrees, then they're masquerading as Masons, and you should be thrown out of our fraternity.
Yep.
Well, if you can't act on the tenets that taught in the first degrees, you go to Scottish Rite and get retaught them. You go to York Rite and get retaught them. Keep on searching for that light until you figure it out, you know?
Well, you have to put it to work in your everyday life. If you don't put it to work in your everyday life, you're missing the whole point anyways. If you know, there's so many things that are taught in each one of our degrees and so many different principles that if you put them in your everyday life and you learn the background behind them, that's what being a Mason really is. Learning a bunch of words and reciting them back is not being a Mason. You have to put it to work in your everyday life and build yourself to be a better man. If you're not doing that, get out. There's the door.
Well, and
I'd like to make a quick.
Oh, sorry, Dennis, go ahead.
No, let Carlton, if you don't mind, because he kind of waited patiently earlier. I'd like to let him get his chance to say something.
Well, I do like Carlton.
Oh, thanks, Dennis. I like you back, buddy. But one of the things that's most important about what y'all were just talking about is that, and it goes back to something we talked about earlier. Why is this brotherhood different from the Rotary Club or the Odd Fellows, right? Is that part of being a Mason is not just learning the work and learning what it means, but part of it is reminding our brothers what it means when they have lost their way. And I know that we have all tried in our own lodges, beyond our own lodges, with our friends at Grand Lodge, even with some of the Grand Lodge officers who might be in power or might be serving this year, to try and correct their behavior by whispering good counsel. And then if we take sort of a lesson from the Great Light, where you talk about first you go by yourself, then you bring another, then you involve, in the Bible, of course, it's the church, but then you involve the greater part of Freemasonry to try and get them to correct their behavior. Yeah. And this brings me to a sort of a new topic, but something I wanted to touch on is why we have Title V, the Masonic Disciplinary Code. And it exists specifically to maintain the integrity of this fraternity. And it helps to weed out people that either got in when they shouldn't have, or to help people find the exit when they've stopped being the man that got in. And so when we're talking about there's the door, or you don't need to be a Mason, first we've got to try and correct them with brotherly love. But when it's clear that they're being obstinate and that pride has taken the place of a willingness to serve, then it's time to take action. And I think that's what we're going to.
The biggest problem, I think, Carlton, that's happened this year is that a lot of Masons have forgotten that you're supposed to whisper good counsel in their ear first, not just put something in your back pocket and go, charge us, because that's what's happened all year.
I think there's a lot of whispering going on. There's a lot of whispering, but none of it's good.
Counsel.
None of it's good.
Brother Fluff for the win.
It's whispering. It's feeding. Listen, the biggest fault in all of Masonry is the fact that we are all men and we all fall short of the glory of God. And therefore, since we cannot be perfect, we have these things called egos. And the moment your ego gets to a certain level where you think you can't be touched, whatever strokes that ego is what you're listening to. And if you're not willing to take a step back and take a look at the overall picture of everything that's going on, everything's going to be foggy and you're only going to make bad mistakes all the time. We definitely have leaders in the Grand Lodge areas. And this isn't just Texas, this is everywhere. We have leaders in every Grand Lodge. The thing that we don't have in every Grand Lodge position is servants. And that is the key word right there. You have to be a servant. Whenever I'm going in as worshipful master, I am the highest position to serve and guide my lodge, right? That's all that I am. Whenever you're a grand master of a grand jurisdiction, you are the highest level of service for the Masons under your jurisdiction. That's all it is. And we're just not getting that. We're not getting that transparency that I think that we deserve as brothers who are very passionate and caring to the brotherhood.
One of the best examples of what you're talking about, last year I was at officer leadership training in Fort Worth, and I'm going through the lunch line, and I look up, and Brad Billings is standing there with an apron serving beans. That man was a servant leader the entire year, and he still is a servant leader. So you're spot on, 100%.
Well, guys, we're all supposed to be likes to have fun, Yeah. And that's something that I think a lot of people are taking out of Masonry too. If we're not having fun doing this dang thing, what's the point of being a Mason, right? Spend a lot of extra hours, spend a lot of extra money, and I could be doing a lot of other things with my life. But I choose to be a Mason. Why? Because the brothers I surround myself with, I have the best time with,
Yeah. I was gonna do a segue real quick.
Yeah. We're supposed to all be on the level. And we should all remember that if we don't stay on that level, if we think there's other higher prospects, we're in the wrong position and we need to step out anyways.
I think
I wanted to use this opportunity to make a quick segue, because one of the things that bothers me so much about our 580 some odd page law book, we have 16 pages just of the table of contents for our law book. And I think when we put laws in the place of doing the right thing for the right reasons, then we've missed the point. Now, in saying that, we've touched on fellowship earlier in this broadcast, and we've touched on, Grand Lodge is the place to do it, and where we connect. And that interpersonal relationship, that happens with shared experiences. And brothers, I want you to know that this year, thanks to our wonderful brother Newberry, there is a Newberry courtesy suite, hospitality suite that's going to be available for all of you Masons to gather around and enjoy some libations, get to know some of our grand officers, such as our Grand Treasurer and Grand Secretary, as well as speak to brothers like myself, Fluff, Roberto Sanchez, and Bradley Kohanke, and Chris Williams, Chris Ryland. You know, Justin, you can show up if you want to. I don't know that many people will talk to you, but you can show up. But
I'll make an appearance.
but seriously though, these are the moments, these are the shared moments talking Freemasonry that we dig it. This is why we travel. This is why we do what we do, because we get to connect with these brothers on such a deep level that anytime we're out and about and we see this brother, you just got to hug him. You just got to love him, because he's been a part of that journey with you, and an intentional part, and full of purpose and reason, and love, brotherly love and affection. And man, that makes all the difference in your journey in Freemasonry. So, if for no other reason, get to Grand Lodge so that you can experience that kind of brotherly love with all of us. I mean, we're all going to be there, and we're all going to have fun together. We're all going to vote together. We're all going to watch the lightning, ride the lightning together. We're going to ride the lightning together. That's what we're going to do.
Giddy up.
I got to throw in that pitch for Metallica, man. I love you, Roberto, but it's all about Metallica for me.
See, doesn't that just flow better than conducting the chemicals, Dennis? I mean, we'll go with riding the
You just have to bring it up, don't you?
May I chime in for just a second, since Dennis
Please
mentioned
do.
it? The weekend of Grand Lodge on Thursday night from 5 to 7 in the Hilton at the Convention Center. Hilton Brazos Room A, the Newberry Hospitality Suite. Our theme for that night will be an evening with your Grand Secretary and Grand Treasurer. So Right Worshipful Rick Townsend, Right Worshipful Justin Duty have agreed to come and stop by and greet the brethren. There will be, beverages. There will be some finger foods. There will be good revelry, and that will be the starting point for the not associated with anything pub crawl you can find that our good friend Dave McCam has put together.
Is there going to be another bagpipe?
There might actually be. I'm trying to get Kevin Klingon to maybe dust off his new set of bagpipes he bought when we were in Scotland last year, made of fine elk horn, and blast a little trumpet for us. But also Friday night, we're going to have Friday night at the Newberry Hospitality Suite, again at the Hilton Brazos Room A. It's going to be come have a Long Island iced tea, but please try not to spill any, with Roberto Sanchez.
He's not very good.
So Brother Roberto is kind enough that he's agreed to come and hang out and talk to the brothers, answer any questions, shake hands and fist bumps. And we will have Long Island iced teas and other beverages available for the brethren, courtesy of the Newberry Hospitality Suite. So please come.
And with a special sponsorship from San Antonio Hat Company.
Nice.
Yes,
Nice.
they bought the ice.
I wouldn't be surprised if after this year there's a prohibition on tea also.
I wanted to I wanted to make sure that our inner circle members that are listening, our paid subscribers with Masonic Improvement, we have a dinner going on that Thursday night.
Y'all have a dinner circle?
Well, yeah.
Yes, we do.
Oh, y'all are bougie. Nice. Nice.
So we're, and in fact, several of these brothers may be there. So, be looking for them. But we have an inner circle dinner that's going to happen at 7 p.m. and we recommend to get there around 6:30. We want you to meet at the Newberry Hospitality Suite at 5 Thursday evening, before you meet up with us and visit with Right Worshipful Townsend and Right Worshipful Duty. We really want you to make sure you get there first before you come to see us and have dinner with us. And then afterwards, we always go and have a drink after the dinner. But this time at 11 p.m., we're going to show up at Barnett's Whiskey Lounge, and listened to a presentation by Right Worshipful Roberto Sanchez that he gave at one of the festive boards in Houston that was absolutely phenomenal from what I understand. I wasn't able to make it then. I was traveling giving my own presentations that weekend, but absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait to see it. I'm going to be there. And then once we get done with that, everybody's heading back to the courtesy suite, except for a couple of us really old guys, and then we tend to go hunker down in our hotel and talk about the young whippersnappers that are out there, all you guys. So, anyways, I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood what was happening so that you are connected and you have that experience that you always wanted to have when you go to Grand Lodge, because you're going to get it when you meet all these brothers in person.
So I want to ask a question right quick, and this is kind of one of those. This is a hypothetical question. Let's say we go to Grand Lodge this year, and it's same old business as usual. Things get passed, things happen the way that they typically happen. Tradition prevails, right? Let's say that that's the case, and there's going to be a lot of brothers who are going to feel pretty down about it, right? There's just that's the way it's going to be. There's brothers like myself who don't want another year as usual. We want to do something excellent again. We want to kind of take it back to the days of Brad or whatever. What can we do as individual Masons, as individual brothers, to reignite this flame in our own home lodges and drive the message harder this year that, hey, next year, you guys weren't ready for last year, but next year you better get your butts in Grand Lodge. Like what can we do to prove ourselves and say, hey, we got ideas, we want to get this out too?
So that's a very interesting question, and that's one of the issues that I have with our current law book, because everybody's masonry is different, and it's hard to say that a lodge in Lubbock is going to be the same as a lodge in Dallas, is going to be the same as a lodge in McAllen, and a lodge in Houston. So
no, we're west of I-35, so we're a lot better.
Fair enough.
Just
fair enough. Fair enough. But that is as a point. I mean, every lodge is different, and expecting your lodge experience to be the same as the lodge experience in Houston, as in San Antonio, as in El Paso, like, it's not going to happen. Texas is massive. So having a law or a function that governs everybody the same, it makes it kind of hard sometimes. And same thing doing that for Grand Lodge. So the beauty of Grand Lodge is that it becomes one giant melting pot of all these ideas and all these cultures and all these different brothers that are coming together, that they see each other once a year at Grand Lodge. And that's one of the things that I love about Grand Lodge, is that that's the one place that I get to see all of my friends that I haven't seen from Lubbock or from El Paso, or that I get to see that one time a year. This is the one time that I get to hang out with them, and we have our own little customs and things that we do. This year's going to be a little different because there's a lot of stuff going on, both after Grand Lodge and during Grand Lodge. So this is going to be a little different than most.
Hypothetical question here, and I just want to see what you guys think. I've thought about this before. Is Texas too big for one Grand Lodge?
There's Grand Lodges that are bigger.
Well, I mean, membership wise, yeah, there's bigger Grand Lodges, but geographically, I mean, we're huge.
Well, same, right? Like, I mean, if you look at the Grand Lodge of England, people just say that it's the Grand Lodge of England, but I mean, they have lodges all over the world, right? Now they have provincial Grand Lodges to kind of manage those things. There's people that have kind of thrown that idea out. I dig it. There's the way that the Grand Lodge of Canada does a lot of their stuff, I really like as well, because you have the Grand Master that's over the state or the province, right? So the province of Ontario per se, and province of Ontario is massive geographically. And then every district has a district deputy that's a mini Grand Lodge. So it's not a provincial Grand Lodge, but that district deputy has his own entourage. He's got two district Grand Stewards. He's got a district Grand Secretary, a district Grand Treasurer, and they have a lot of autonomy, and they kind of run as a mini Grand Lodge, even though they're not jurisdictionally sound that way. That's actually kind of interesting. If you ever get a chance to go to Canada and see that, it's wild. But I mean, I like it. So is that something Texas should do? I don't know. Maybe. We're big enough geographically where it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, that ego you mentioned earlier might be a huge problem when you have guys that can't control their ego in a certain thing. And then
I see that building behind you, and I love that building. got
I
pride
agree.
with that building. You know, that's history. Texas Masonry is historic. We're a young Grand Lodge, considering all things, but we're a historic Grand Lodge in some ways. And so it's hard to say that, hey, maybe we don't need all this. Maybe we need to toss some things aside. Maybe we need to get rid of the Grand Lodge building and meet in convention centers and move Grand Lodge around every year, you know, whatever, to make it geographically more convenient for the rest of the state. But at the same time, it's like, nah, man, we have this. We fought for this. We want this, you know. But
Fluff,
Well, that's why they put it in Waco. It was inconvenient for everybody. So
yeah.
that's why it ended up there.
I'll point out, like, I could drive an hour and I'm at Grand Lodge. I'm an hour away.
Well,
I
let's
talked
just
to,
Must be nice.
yeah, but I talked to brothers from El Paso, and they spent several $1,000s on a plane ticket, or they drove God knows how many hours through nothing to get here. I'm sure over in Lubbock, it's quite a drive. You got brothers in
It's about 5 hours.
yeah, off on the Rio Grande Valley. So it's no matter what you do, there's going to be a bit of a trip for some people, but it's really hard to say El Paso is being represented when they're closer to the Grand Lodge of New Mexico than they are to Waco, or the Rio Grande Valley, or up in the Texas Panhandle. So I don't know that breaking it up is the answer, but maybe some kind of provincial system or something needs to probably change for people to get the
Like
representation.
regional
they deserve.
conferences or something.
Yeah.
Well, we have those already, the Grand Masters conferences, but it's not really participatory, like we're discussing. I actually hashed this out with some brothers not long ago, and I just threw this idea out. It's so simple, it seems stupid, but it's actually could be quite helpful. What is the problem with brothers coming from El Paso? What is the problem with brothers coming from Amarillo? They got to lay out for the travel. They got to lay out for the meals. They got to lay out, right? Our Grand Lodge has a lot of money. Not tons and tons, but it has plenty to operate on every year. What if the Grand Lodge said, you know what? We're going to draw a line at some of these major spots, El Paso, Amarillo, that are 4 or 5 hour drives away. And we're going to charter a bus. If it is a financial burden for you and you're a master mason who has contributed to the Grand Lodge, this bus is for you. All you have to do is sign up, reserve your spot, and show up. And it takes a portion of the problem out of their deal, right?
Yeah.
Then, we can also serve meals at low or no cost. You know, they don't have to be fancy. Sandwiches, chips, and a drink. Here's a free lunch. You know, here's a free breakfast taco for you guys that traveled so far, right? And how do you determine who they are? When they get on the bus, you hand them a ticket, or you put it on their scan on their card. This brother came from a long way and clicked yes that he needed some financial assistance to make the trip and participate. The first lesson we learn in the EA degree, right? Be a little charitable with these guys and make it easy for them to come. Now, it sounds so stupid because it's so simple, but it would take the burden off of a lot of guys. And what will happen on the bus? Not this year, there'd probably be a fist fight, but in other years, brotherhood breaks out. Friendships are forged. Wonderful thing. Ideas come together. It's just a thought, but there are things that we could do that are easily within our power that do not require changes to the law book, changes to this and the Constitution, that could make things easier for brothers to come and participate.
And you touched on something that's really cool, is that today, in today's age, we have scan codes and we have the QR codes for everything. Even our IDs are QR coded now. So there doesn't even have to be a big, to do about this brother can't afford what or whatever. It's just a matter of everybody scan their Q card when they buy lunch or whatever down in the basement of Grand Lodge, and this guy gets it, this guy doesn't, or whatever. And people could actually purchase those lunches in advance, and that way no money would have to exchange hands. You just go chink, 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 and then nobody knows the better, and everybody gets served. And, I think that you're onto something. I think that there's definitely ways that we could benefit the craft by doing stuff like that. In the past, when you had to be a Scottish Rite member before you were a Shriner, the Laredo Shrine would charter a bus and put all these brothers on, send them to get their degrees in the Scottish Rite, and bring them back on that bus and immediately put the Shrine degrees on them. That was their gig, right? So how expensive can it really be when you're looking at the big picture of helping out a brother to get something that they've been wanting to do?
Yeah, I remember
Brother Tyler on TikTok. Crap. What is it? The head of DMLA in Texas, Master Counselor.
Yes.
Master Counselor, Brother Tyler. He's on TikTok right now, and he just mentioned he's like,
glad to see you, brother.
DMLA does their registration for their state conclave at $100, and there's many meals provided for $100 a piece for that registration. Mm-hmm. What if we did a registration like that for $100 a piece? And you know what? You get yourself 2 free snacks, a donut, coffee, and barbecue sandwich down there in Grand Lodge. You're good to go,
Leaving Grand Lodge for lunch and coming back and trying to find a parking space.
Oh, that's the worst.
You're better off just walking 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Skip Smith.
I ate some bad pizza because of that.
I went and visited him. He's in the hospital, and he was talking about historically there was a time when lodges would rent out train cars to get to Waco, and it's not unlike what Dennis was talking about. And I've seen pictures before also. I think it was like Dallas, where they would rent an entire bus and everybody would get on the bus and then go to Waco. So there's feasible options to get there. I think
it's almost like back in the day they were a Masonic community.
We thought more as a community at one time, and we've gotten away with that. We kind of do our own thing too much, and I think we need to start looking after one another. We need to say, hey, if we're going to all be going to this, why don't we? I get it. Not everyone wants to carpool. Like I'm not going to carpool with my dad because he's not going to want to stay in Waco till like 2:00 in the morning. I get that, but there are options that we need to start looking at. I mean, God forbid you go on a road trip with your brothers and bond along the way or something.
How dare you?
I know. I'm crazy.
For instance, Brother Ryland and I, Chris Ryland, and Brother Kyle Ryland, for that matter, we go to Grand Lodge together. We share a ride. We get up there. We get an Airbnb on Hood Street because we're hood rats. And while we're there, we have a great time. And doing that, getting that Airbnb together saves us hundreds of dollars over paying for a hotel room per person. You still get your own bedroom and all that good stuff. And I think that taking advantage of, I've seen brothers on Facebook. Just today, a guy was like, I'm coming down here for this. Does anyone have a couch or something I can crash on? It's really not that hard to get together these days and come up with a plan to do that, to make things more affordable and more feasible. It just really isn't.
Yeah.
Speaking of brotherly love, Justin, will you tell our Inner Circle members how they can purchase a membership for somebody else, how they can gift a membership? Because I've got somebody asking,
we just
how
have
can
15
I gift some
memberships gifted. So
I know, right? Is that just amazing?
It's wild.
So if you're out there and you don't have a membership to our deal, make sure you snag that free membership and get your piece of the Inner Circle.
Yeah. And if you became a member because of Brother Fluff, be sure to let him know, because I definitely have my royalty charges on.
I posted a link in the chat
yes.
for how to join the Inner Circle if you like. And if you do join the Inner Circle and you're going to be in Waco and you'd like to attend the dinner, reach out to Masonic Improvement on Facebook and send us a message.
Yeah, give me your email.
Because YouTube doesn't give us your contact info. So if you'll reach out to us and give that to us, we'll be sure that you know where we're meeting and everything for dinner that evening.
And if it is because of Fluff, let us know, and I won't make him buy my first scotch. How's that?
Okay.
I wouldn't buy you that trash anyway.
Hey, no, he won't buy your first.
Fair
one,
enough.
your second or third.
No, I won't buy any scotch.
Second and third, maybe fourth.
I don't know what it
The
is with
final
you
one,
guys.
the final one that puts me to sleep and shuts me up, right?
That's just
That-
called a lead pipe. I
that-
mean,
yeah. How do you, yeah, okay. This is great. Fluff, you got any more questions or anything, or does anyone else have any other comments they want to make? I'm not trying to wrap up or anything. I'll give everyone opportunities. To
no,
talk.
I'm just kind of watching TikTok, seeing if any questions come up on TikTok. If anybody on TikTok has any questions, definitely this is the time to
Yeah,
ask.
this
here.
is the group to ask for sure. If you have questions about Grand Lodge, you have questions about the tea that's been spilled lately. It's been an amazing ride this past couple of months. I've always been pretty outspoken, and Roberto has been very busy in Freemasonry, and so he hasn't really said a whole lot lately. But the things that he said now has really made up for all the time lost. And if any of y'all have any questions on any of that stuff, now some stuff we definitely can't get into specifics on because my lawyer has left the building, so he won't be able to watch what I say. So just letting you know, not all questions will be answered.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions about this stuff, I mean, now's the time to do it because it's not talking bad about the fraternity or any members if it's true. It's transparency. And that's the one thing we have not had in the past 40 years as this has been accumulating in our that to the point to where our tea is boiling over now. This has all been building up because there hasn't been transparency and they've been able to keep it in the back rooms. Now they're not able to do that anymore because of technology and because we do have knowledgeable brothers that, because of our get-togethers and brotherly love, we're able to educate each other on what we can and cannot do. And so it brings this stuff to light a little bit better. Education is the key, guys. So if you want to be educated, ask your questions now is the time.
Yep.
To give people a chance to chime in with some questions. I just want to bring up the pop-up shop at Grand Lodge real quick, if y'all want to roll into that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Sure.
So pop-up shop at Grand Lodge this year. Dave McCam is putting that on. San Antonio Hat Company will be there. We're bringing merch. We're bringing hats. We got some new stuff coming down the pipeline that we're releasing at Grand Lodge. Hope to meet a bunch of people there, see a bunch of guys I know, and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Square Image, that's my company. We will have things there. I'm going to not focus so much on the apron cases. I'll have a few of them with me, but my big deal this year is the Grand Lodge of the Republic of Texas flasks. And if you're lucky, I may have some of the Billings flasks as well, because I do have that keyed up and ready. My daughter is chomping at the bits to burn some more stuff with the laser. She loves it, and so I got my free labor, my child labor, and
Yeah, I've got a
just
couple
like
of those.
just like
flasks.
every
Those
good
are awesome.
just like every good
YouTube's
Mason,
shutting us
right?
down, Dennis.
I know, get as cheap as I can be with my Freemasonry, right? But
Why do you think I got brought on to San Antonio Hat Company?
exactly, right? Yeah, we all take advantage of our kids. Just get over it. It's part of life. But anyways,
but-
it builds
but the
that's what I
flasks are
got
cool.
Kyle for, right?
it builds character. It builds character. But we have Illinois Regalia Company, and we have, of all people, we have John Nagy coming in from Florida, and he's going to be selling his books. He's bringing in, I think, 32 books, sets of his books to sell at Grand Lodge for us. And if y'all don't know who he is, that's the coach of Freemasonry.
Watch
He's
our
the
last
coach
video
of
with Nagy.
Yes.
I mean, it's
yes. If you want to know who Nagy is and the people we love to talk to, that's your video.
Mhm.
But otherwise, has anybody chimed in?
I'm not seeing any new questions.
I had a couple of chimes on the filing that was placed on by Billings on Grand Lodge today.
Mhm.
I hadn't seen that one come through, so I don't know anything about that one, and I don't even know if we want to discuss that or not. But that's pretty much the only.
Hey, man, it's local news in Waco, so it's free game. Who
Is
wants
it
to
free
take
game?
that one?
Because I hadn't heard
Yep.
about it. So somebody clue me in on what this.
I'm
I'm
going to send
willing
you the
to-
link right now.
I'm willing to walk through that minefield real quick.
I'm just saying. Every day this week, I've just been trying to carry around my glass of tea and not spill any drops. But
Every
you
time you
guys
go on
make it hard to
Facebook
do
these
it.
last 2 weeks has been something new.
every day, and I blame Roberto. That's really and truly.
Lightning, yeah.
Now, so Brad Billings, Right Worshipful Billings, consulted a lawyer and filed a lawsuit in McLennan County, which surrounds Waco. He named our current Grand Master and some other people, a total of 5, and the Grand Lodge in this lawsuit that seeks damages up to $250,000 for defaming his character, because they have very vocally accused him of theft. The Masonic trial, and this part is my opinion based on the law, but his Masonic trial was not handled the way that you would expect it to be for a crime against Grand Lodge. It was cherry picked to a certain lodge, where they picked a jury where he was only allowed 6 strikes out of the 24 brothers that they picked. Brother Sanchez, in one of his teas, dropped the facts about how the trial master who's involved has a past history and would normally have a conflict of interest that would make him unavailable to be a part of this, as well as the Grand Master pulling these charges, having a history with Brad. As this trial moves forward, we can't talk about what the facts of that case are, but Brad didn't feel like, one, that it was being characterized properly and that they were using language that was inflammatory and hurt his reputation beyond the walls of Masonry. It stated in the news report that his lawyer said that he felt that it was making it almost impossible for him to become the Grand Secretary. The trial date has been moved again from January 6th to the next weekend, which, if you know what your chessboard is supposed to look like, makes it almost impossible for him to appeal whatever decision comes out of that trial.
Well, that couldn't be intentional, could it?
For the election. Go ahead. I beg your pardon?
I said, there's no way that could be intentional, could it?
Oh, I'm certain it's not.
I'm going to chime in right here, Carolyn, if I may. And
Please.
I was going to drop a tea about this today, but I was asked to hold off for at least till Friday, and so you'll see that on Friday when I spill that tea. But a little bit of the way that some of these processes happen. In my case, for example, the original trial master for my case was told by the Grand Master to find any way possible, lie, cheat, or steal if you have to get Roberto out. Those were his instructions. And then he got sick and had to recuse himself like a month before the trial was supposed to happen, which was right before Grand Lodge of that year. And I'm not going to say any names for right now, though that'll probably come into tea if it needs to be. But I approached that brother afterwards and asked him why he was leaving the trial, because I did not know he was sick. And he just unloaded. I didn't have my name tag on, so he didn't know who I was, and just started telling me that the Grand Master told him that he was supposed to take me out, and he was really looking forward to seeing what my defense was, but he was told that by all the past Grand Masters wanted me out, and by under no circumstances am I supposed to survive this outcome, not knowing that he was talking to me. So I told him, like, let's step into the foyer of Grand Lodge and I'll fill you in, because I know the story. And that's when I pulled out my name tag, pointed to who I was, and all of a sudden he turned pale white, because now he just admitted to me in a room full of people that he was told to lie, cheat, and steal and kick me out of the fraternity. So he gave me his card, and he's like, hey, if you decide to sue, or if you need me to testify to what this happened and this happened, but I'm pulling out because I'm sick and I just can't do it. And that's one of the things that I'm afraid of might happen here. If it walks a duck and looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, well, it might be a cow, right? So that's one of the things that I'm making sure doesn't happen, and it stinks to high heaven.
We do have a comment, a question on YouTube real quick. Is Joe Hernandez. He's asking, what's the best advice you have gotten for your Masonic journey? I'm a relatively new Master Mason. Have also gotten a lot of advice, but definitely will always be open to more.
Very cool.
Masonic labor is to learn and to teach others. It is our job to learn and pass that knowledge to somebody else. And remembering that our lessons is what bounds us all together. If you're not willing to absorb that esoteric light and pass it on to somebody else, that's the biggest lesson in Masonry. That's what we're all here for, is to make new Masons and make sure that the next generation of Masons is not diluted. That would be my advice.
What about you guys?
And the best thing I can say right now is don't look at what's going on at Grand Lodge and build your Masonic edifice around that. Build your Masonic edifice around those principal tenets that you learned in those degrees, and build what kind of person you want to be based on that. What's going on right now is not a true reflection of what Masonry is. It's just what's going on right now. We have to get past this for everyone to see what true Masonry is. Mm-hmm. And that's what I keep stressing to my young son, my young Master Mason who's Master of a Lodge right now. You know, I keep stressing that to him. We got to get past this. But it takes guys like us that are willing to stand up and say, that's not right. We're not going to allow it anymore, to get past it. Otherwise it continues and it won't ever end. So be willing to stand up, but remember, you have to base your edifice on those tenets that you first learned.
I'd like to.
Sorry, go ahead, Vince.
Go ahead.
As a young Master Mason, or a newer Master Mason, my best advice to you is find that Masonic community, whether it be in lodge, in your town, online, whatever it is. Find that Masonic community, figure out who your mentors are going to be, find out what your purpose in Masonry is. You may be a fundraiser. I'm not a fundraising guy, but you may be a fundraiser guy, or you may become a ritualist. You may be happy to audit the tax books or whatever you need to do. Whatever it is, find your Masonry within the fraternity, build your relationships and friendships around that, and take it slow and have a good time. That's all you got to do. This is a life journey, and I think a lot of us forget that. You know, we're not sprinting towards a finish line because we don't know where the finish line is. The finish line is whenever the grand architect of the universe calls us home. Mm-hmm. That's the finish line. But right now, while we're here, we just need to be steady in continuing to build up our temple and not destroy it.
Right. Go ahead, Kyle. I'll speak after you.
Thank you. I just have two pieces. One echoes kind of Fluff, Brother Fluff's deal is, fellowship in this fraternity is amazing. You just have to find it or make it, start a grotto, something, make that fellowship happen. Otherwise you're just a bunch of guys meeting in a room. You got a fez over there.
I'm a member.
I still haven't got my fez. Go ahead.
The second piece, and that one I have to tell myself, is remember why you joined. And, everybody has their story. I have my story. And just remember why you joined. That's all I got.
Like it.
I'd like to.
I love that.
I'd like
Why'd
to say.
You join, Kyle? Why'd you join? I want to know why.
The short version. My great grandfather, one of the
you can give us the long version. Dennis is waiting to talk.
And if it doesn't involve your dad, I really want the long version.
I can make it not involve him.
Be better than me. Be better than me.
It's my story, right?
Right. It's your own truth, man. It's your own truth.
The more condensed version. My great grandfather, best person in the world, in my opinion, was a Mason. Then growing up, basically in the lodge room, in that building, and just seeing all these good guys, great people, growing up with them around me, it made me question it on, well, what does a mechanic, a person who works for IBM, a cop, a car salesman, why are they friends? And it finally clicks. It's because of this. It's because they had this opportunity of good fellowship and had this fraternity to make them into good men, or to make them better men, realistically. And that's why I wanted to join.
I love it.
I'd like to touch on something that is near and dear to me, because it's the reason why I jumped on this crazy train with Justin. You know, we don't always we join Freemasonry with a certain thing in our mind, and we don't always get that once we walk through the doors. Once we go through the ritual, we go through all three of the first degrees, and then we start listening to the minutes and get lost in what our purpose is. If you're that guy, if you're that brother, that's why people like us are here. That's why Fluff is here, to help get you to understand that it's okay to travel. It's okay to go outside that 30-minute realm that you're in. I travel regularly, an hour and a half to 2 hours almost every night for my Freemasonry. And the reason why is because, number one, I help provide a better experience for a lot of the brothers by doing lectures and stuff. But at the same time, I'm also getting the experience that I'm not going to get if I sit here at home. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my brothers here at home. We do so many great things. And I'm so proud of our lineup now. You know, you guys were talking about the officer leadership training earlier. You know, my lodge is the perfect proof of what happens when you have successive planning and training through officer leadership training. It's a perfect example, because we're hitting on all 8 cylinders and doing great. However, it's still not the experience that I'm looking for, because like everybody has stated here, there are different pockets in different areas, and that's kind of Freemasonry, that, you know, the culture of different lodges. Don't get discouraged if your lodge has a different culture than what you were looking for, because there are lodges that have that culture, and they may be closer than you think. And if they're not as close as you think, there may be other options. You know, our Scottish Rite, we have a book club, and we're discussing Manly P. Hall, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, chapter by chapter, every month. And that's open to all Master Masons around the world. It doesn't matter. If you can log in when we're doing it, you're okay. If you can be vouched for, you're okay to join and be a part of that group. You know, there's something out there for everywhere, for everybody. And there's many others that are doing the book clubs and the deep dive into esoterics and the even occultish type thoughts and ideas in philosophy and theology, because ultimately we all come from the same mystery schools of the ancients, right? That's the thing. And so if you dig that stuff and you want to learn about it, there's brothers that know that kind of stuff, but you have to travel to do it. And if you can't find it, then get a hold of brothers out here that do travel. All these brothers here travel extensively. And every one of them, some people are, less fortunate. Some people are not as wise as others, but we won't hold that against you.
You're talking about
Houstonites. Houstonites are different. They're different. They're their own little beast. And so, if you want that kind of Freemasonry, we can point you in that direction. But no, some of my favorite brothers are from Houston.
I agree with you, Dennis. I really do. I mean, I'm a member of 3 different lodges. One of them's in San Antonio, 2 of them are on the west side of Houston. but I've traveled and worked in degrees in tons of lodges. I've worked in over 1,000 degrees, guys. Okay. Each lodge holds something different. Each group of Masons holds something different. If you're not getting what you need from the lodge that you're a member of, visit other lodges. Go see somebody else. Go listen to somebody else speak. Brother Carlton Newberry does a ton of speaking at other lodges. Dennis does lots of speaking at other lodges. Roberto does lots of speaking at other lodges. I've been asked to do speaking at other lodges, okay? There's tons of things out there for you, okay? Look
And
for
so
it.
does Justin.
Travel for it. Oh, so does Justin. I'm sorry, Justin. I apologize, brother.
He's just the
Not
moderator
meaning to
of
leave
this
you out.
gig. Yes.
But guys, I've been a Mason for going on 24 years. Okay, I was a master 4 years after I was raised. Okay, I've been traveling this state of Texas, and actually other states too, visiting lodges for 20 plus years. Everything is different. You can find what you're looking for if you only look. I promise.
Love that.
Yeah, and one of the points I was wanting to make is that even if it's not our gig, if it's not our thing, because we travel, we know whose thing it is, right? So I know what they do in Lubbock, and man, if you want brotherly love and fellowship, you go hang out with those guys. I mean, they got it going on, and really, my brothers in Houston are the same way. When they start grottoing, oh my God, Lord help us all. Lord help us all. But
hey, guys,
the reality.
I'm traveling 2 hours. I'm traveling 2 hours to Goliad.
This weekend, Saturday. Remember Goliad.
March the 2nd, we will be constituting a brand new grotto in Goliad, Texas. We have more charter members that in this grotto than a grotto that just got started in Austin. Okay,
Nice.
Guys, most of the members are traveling. Why? Why are they traveling? Because they want something different. They want to see something going on. They want to know what it's like to grotto. So how do you grotto? That's my question.
Right.
I know what I'm going to be teaching you guys.
I grotto responsibly. Thank you very much. And I would appreciate it if you guys would just take the heat off of Al Haboob a little bit. All right. We're the bad boys of Texas. We get it. We understand that. But just take it easy on us just a little bit.
I can't do that. It's impossible.
I'd like to address the question real quick now that Dennis has covered it. Talking about the best advice. I would say this, like everything you heard is really good advice. But regardless of what path of Freemasonry you choose to take, either the ritualist or the leader or whatever, leave the fraternity a better place than it was when you got there. In whatever aspect you follow under. So if you do ritual, raise the bar. If you're a leader, leave the lodge a better lodge it was than when you got installed as Marshal Master or whatever. And just take that mentality to whatever aspect of Freemasonry that you love and leave it a better place. Like if you love the esoterics, great, do presentations, enrich other people's lives. That's the biggest takeaway I would say, and they all involve you kind of coming out of your shell a little bit. I don't know if you have a shell, but I'm speaking from personal experience. They all involve you coming out of your shell, but you're better for it. You'll grow from it, and I think that's kind of the one of the secrets of Freemasonry is that it's a progressive science, and so I'm very introverted, so I progressively had to come out of my shell, and now I have a podcast with Dennis here, so. That's my advice. Is whatever you love about the fraternity, become great at it, and leave it better than it was before you got into it.
So when you're saying leave it better than it was when you got into it, what we have to understand as well is that means make sure that the men getting into the fraternity are better than what you were at when you were getting into it. I don't think that every man that joins Freemasonry is going to be a worshipful master one day or sit in the East. No. But every time that I do
Nor should they.
No.
Yeah, that too. Because it's not an entitlement thing. Like you are not entitled to sit in the East. But one thing that I look at when I do investigations nowadays is this is a potential candidate who could be potentially joining the lodge and being my worshipful master one day.
Or your
Would I
grandmaster.
be all right following this man? You know?
Yeah. You bring up something that's really important. I think it's kind of the elephant in this whole conversation. Not even in the room. It's just the elephant in Texas Freemasonry. These conversations would not be happening if we had guarded the West Gate. Someone somewhere, an investigation committee dropped the ball, and now look at the ramifications. And I've talked about slowing down the process. We've talked about this. We beat this horse, guarding the West Gate. But this is the prime example. This is a prime example of why it's better to be cautious and err to the side of caution than to just leave everything to chance. Because I've seen lodges be wrecked by bad leadership, and now we're seeing that at a greater level. I've seen districts get wrecked by bad leadership. It always rolls downhill too. So I'm not going to like go into a whole lecture on the importance of guarding the West Gate, but it's something we all need to reevaluate in our lodge.
I forgot that the most interesting Masonic meeting I went to this year was at your lodge.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Are you kidding me?
It's actually not my lodge anymore.
No.
Really? You're not in that lodge anymore?
No, I admitted.
Because of that stuff?
Yeah, too much drama.
Oh, wow.
Too much drama, man.
Boy, let me tell you
No.
something. Fluff rolls into DFW. Where can I go to lodge? I'll come down here. Primo.
So
yeah.
I would like to address an elephant that's in the room that everybody thought of when you said the elephant in the room.
I am losing weight right now, and I don't appreciate it.
Perfect
We're
timing.
having
I
to
was
whispering
waiting for
words
that
of
all
counsel,
night.
Dennis. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm 65 pounds
Right.
lighter than what I was in January. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I
I've got a couple texts
now if y'all
telling me that they're sure the 10 pounds have been added to my face. So, like, I guess they're talking about me.
you know, if y'all make me talk about this, I will. Don't make me go there because
Talk
my
about it.
brotherly love and affection is the beauty of truth, and my truth will always be said, and you might not like that.
Well, if you can keep it
But
under
no,
10 minutes, go for it.
He can't.
Oh shit. Wah, wah, wah. So here's the elephant in the room, guys. So we all know that there's going to be lightning in Grand Lodge this year. You like this? This is all courtesy of the Sandman himself, Sandy Newman from San Antonio. He made this up for me just a while ago. But we all know that there's going to be lightning. We all know that there are going to be nominations from the floor. We all know that. Even the other side knows that because they're watching every single thing that several of us here are doing every single day. There are people tasked with watching what we're doing so they know what to do next. Now, with that being said,
How's that working?
there
for
will
him?
be nominations. Some people are made to manage chaos. Some are not. That's all I got to say. But the reality is that there will be nominations from the floor. We know that. And there is a plan being devised, but it's going to rely heavily on what happens in the next few weeks. Those are very important factors to what's going to happen in January. And I say the next few weeks because we only have a few weeks now to January 18th. We're in January. Golly. Man, I feel old. But
You
anyways,
look old too.
You got
there
2
will
weeks.
be
Dennis.
not
2 weeks.
don't make me put on my checkerboard Vans. So exactly. I'll talk all the way to it. I'm not politicking. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm speaking my truth. So there
So now
are
that Dennis is finally done, can we move on to the next? I'm sorry. Oh.
If y'all would stop interrupting, I might get through this in this century. So
You got to make
Okay.
your point?
you see why I love these guys? Man, I love them. These are my
I've listened
favorite
to the
people.
podcast.
Hey, somebody tell Dennis
This
to
is the
stand
longest
up.
intro y'all had.
And that's very
The
difficult
longest
to beat with
intro
me.
was Dennis's first episode. That was the longest intro ever.
Yes, I had to introduce myself. So the thing is that there will be fireworks, there will be lightning, there will be a Grand Lodge like you have never seen before. But it's not just for the purpose of creating chaos. It's for the purpose of restoration of our fraternal order, because we love our fraternity. We are deeply concerned about our fraternity, and not so much the fraternity itself, because as a whole, we are beautiful together. The justice of God is our free will. Our free will creates the justice of God, because what one does great, the other one's going to feel in a negative way. And that creates the justice. So either way, whatever happens, it's going to be the right thing at our Grand Lodge. But know this, there will be nominations from the floor from both sides when it comes to different positions. Tradition may not prevail. It may not be like we've always seen it in the past, but that does not make it a bad thing. And those people that are going to be nominated, they do have a plan. If you think you want to nominate somebody from the floor, if they don't have a plan already, they are not the one to nominate. You need to talk to somebody who knows that there is a plan and see what's going on. And not
That's
that
a really
anybody
good point,
is
Dennis. That's a really
Thank
good point. That any brother who will accept a nomination from the floor, or who is nominated, before he accepts that nomination, he had better have a clear vision. He had better have a team in place ready to go. He had better have a program that's being supported and ready to go, or he should not accept the nomination. This is not a chance for somebody to finally get eagle wings on their shoulders. This is not a chance for somebody to get their name out there. This is an opportunity to give the Grand West an option.
Carlton, I'll
to
just
write the course.
I'm not going to name names or anything, but in that line of thinking, you would not believe what a pain in the butt it was to try to get a forum organized this year. Because once you start asking for plans and ideas, everything falls apart. Now, granted, that's not everybody. We had some brothers that are running that have a team ready. They have what you're talking about, but it was evident that there's some people who are just being thrown at the wall.
We tried to bring it to the craft and help with transparency, so they knew who was coming to the floor, but it all fell apart because a few were afraid to answer questions. It fell apart for everybody.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, when I tell you who my true and trusted friends are, you'll know who you can count on in 2024. I can assure you of that. So
you're welcome, Dennis.
Remember
Dennis,
that.
I have to cut in here because you've
Please
said this word a few times. Fear. The people that believe that they're in power right now, the ones who are supposed to be serving, they're counting on fear. They're counting on fear of another word that you said, chaos. If this is done correctly, if the nomination from the floor is for a brother who is prepared, planned, has been tried and tested in the past, and proved himself to be capable and up to the task, then there's no reason to have fear. And the ones, again, who believe that they're in power are counting on us being so afraid of the unknown that we vote the way that it's always gone. I'm not telling anybody how to vote, but I'm asking you to be thoughtful. I'm asking you to be mindful of what's best for the fraternity. And I'm asking you to not let fear rule the day. Be bold, be earnest, and be wise.
And consider why it's happening in the first place, not just that it's happening. Consider why it's happening, because we're all about intentional Freemasonry. We want to do the right thing for the good of all. We're looking at big picture stuff. We're not looking at at what can serve us to make us look good in the day. And you're absolutely right, Carlton. The fear is the biggest motivator of all things. Fear can stop a nation with the voice of one man. Fear can do that. And we can't allow fear to rule our lives. That's keeping your passions within due bounds, is keeping that fear within due bounds, because you understand that you can control that fear with education and with your intellect and spirit. You can control that fear.
So you're saying
And
there's
the
duality
people,
within the point and circle?
Craziest thing, huh?
well, I might be alluding to that.
We're
But
getting
let's
into
not get too,
esoterics on Masonic.
guys,
let's not get too
main
deep
thing-
now.
All right. So here's the main thing that I want to charge each and every Mason that attends that's going to be casting a vote. Vote for what's the best thing for Texas Masonry and Masonry in general. If you
Yes.
vote that way and you truly believe that that's the vote that you should cast, then cast it.
Yep.
If you are voting just for the sake of, well, he's already done this once, or he already, that he deserves it. No, that's the wrong mentality. Vote for what is right for Masonry and what is right for Texas Masonry and what's going to right this ship, because right now we're not right and we need to fix it.
You can't go wrong by doing what is right and voting for what is right. Also, real quick, I want to clarify, because I mentioned a forum earlier and I got some text. I wasn't talking about community at work forum. I was talking about a candidate forum that Dennis and I were working to get sorted out. So I wasn't talking about a community at work forum or anything like that. But yeah, absolutely.
Those are hard to get going too, believe me.
No, if someone gets nominated and you think they're the right person, like if you actually believe it, and not because, well, they served their time or it's their turn or anything like that, support it. Be supportive.
Yeah. How many of those brothers have you seen destroy your lodge because you let them in because they've served the time?
Yeah, I've seen it.
1 year with that person can destroy a lodge.
Let me interject here real quick, Dennis. The stakes are higher than ever right now.
Yes.
Whoever has the responsibility of carrying this forward, there's going to be a lot of rebuilding. There's got to be unity. There's got to be peace. This all has to end, right?
Yes.
So the stakes are higher than ever before, and that's the message that I want to make sure everybody walks away with, is that we're not playing hopscotch here. Like this, people's lives are at stakes here. Like it's gotten to that level. There's been lawsuits filed. There's been animosity. There's rumors about having armed guards arresting Mason. I mean, like it's gotten way out of hand. This is not Mason.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's in charge of being our leader next year needs to lead us out of this and rebuild and be the servant that we're talking about. My office is greater than I am, and whoever that is needs to remember that. The man is not.
Yes.
It's the office.
How many lodges have been ruined by one man sitting as master for 1 year?
1 year. You could have 10 years of prosperity.
1 year. How many lodges? How many lodges?
Yeah.
Think of that.
But it was more than one.
Let me
It was
piggyback
more
on
than
this.
one man who voted him into position.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More
Yes.
than one man. Tradition does not have to prevail.
No.
Period. End of
Exactly.
And speaking of that, speaking of what you're saying, this is important to me. Even if we get the right person in the Grand East next year, it takes more than 1 year to fix things. You have to have consistency for a number of years. It either needs to be not just the right person, but the right team, or we need to reevaluate as a jurisdiction our term times. Because 1 year,
Yeah.
you could have the greatest Texas Mason in the Grand East in 1 year. First of all, it's not enough time to right the ship, and it won't matter if you have the wrong person right behind them. It's all for naught. It's all wasted time.
really helps.
I'd like to go ahead.
If every brother remembers their obligations and teachings. That helps.
I've heard
That helped. Somewhere. Can't picture where. I don't remember.
I don't know where he learned that at, brothers. I don't know where he learned it from. I don't
That
know.
almost sound Masonic.
Probably from the same guy who taught him how to shave.
Probably from his grandfather.
I mean, that's why he
The thing that I would like to say though, real quick, is that we are arrogant enough in Texas that we think that it doesn't matter what other people think. We somehow think that Texas is so special that we don't have to conform to any rules. The things that are happening in our Grand Lodge are having ripple effects throughout all of Masonry, throughout the world. Our broadcast gets that so regularly from people around the world asking us what the happened in Texas and why do they think it's okay to happen in Texas. And all I can say is freaking pride and arrogance. We think that our shit don't stink and that we don't have to answer to anybody. Well, we're affecting the rest of Freemasonry around the world because it's not just us that are looking at this. And just like the other side says, oh, why are you saying all this online? Everybody sees it. The brothers in New York are seeing it. The guys who are thinking about joining in New York are seeing it. And that's going to happen continuously beyond this year. So we need to have a team of experienced people who travel to these other jurisdictions, who already have relationships with these Grand Lodges in other jurisdictions, in other countries. And we need to have somebody that can help fix that divide and unify our fraternity as a whole and not just in our state. We not only have to rebuild in Texas, but we have to rebuild our relationships outside of Texas. And so whoever we're thinking about going forward, that's the job at hand. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than Texas. Things are big in Texas, but this is bigger. Freemasonry has always been bigger than just Texas. And we need to get our minds right and our hearts right and be the servant leaders that we need to be for Texas and for our fraternity as a whole.
So let's say we get everything right this year and we get the ship set on course and it looks like we're heading in the right direction. What we're also missing out on, guys, is we need to put the tools in place to make sure that something like this never happens again. What are we going to do about implementing those tools and making this process of saying, hey, you know what, you're not actually holding up to your obligations to your office or to your obligations to the craft. We got to get you out of here. But right now, as I read it in the law book, we can do it. We just don't have the tools to actually implement it. What do we do about that?
Well, there
So
are two,
there's
there
gonna
are
be a
two
ton of-
resolutions this year that will deal with that.
Yeah,
There's one
there's
resol-
resolutions this year, and there's going to be some that come up again next year that are going to be there introduced next year. I promise.
Right. So there's one resolution coming up that will allow for a certain number of lodges, and that will be debated on the floor. Right now, it's 50 to call an emergency session of the Grand Lodge of Texas, because there's no way that a Grand Master is going to call an emergency session to be impeached. That's what we've seen this year. But that resolution is on the floor, or is on the table. The other is resolution number 10, which would have stopped a lot of this if it was in place, which would make it, let's say Brother Fluff was a Texas Mason and decided he wanted to run for Grand Treasurer and filled out what we call a statement of availability saying, I'm available for this office. You make certain disclosures about any money you've gotten from the Grand Lodge of Texas, and it's filed with the Grand Secretary, and he says, I've received it. The second that you file that and get acknowledgement that it's filed, resolution number 10 says that if somebody comes along and tries to file charges on you after that, then your case has to be tried at Grand Lodge before the election. And it specifically is designed to stop people from weaponizing Title V for political purposes. Why? Because Title V is the key to maintaining the integrity. It is the ultimate weapon, the ultimate tool to keep integrity in the Grand Lodge of Texas. It's to get rid of brothers who slip through the cracks getting in, or brothers who have lost their way once they've gotten in. And after whispering good counsel to them, after bringing others to whisper good counsel to them, after being counseled by their lodge leadership, it is the last straw to deal with those brothers. And to use something that is designed to maintain our integrity as a personal political weapon is one of the most egregious violations of our obligations that I can think of.
Yeah.
So that's what those two would eliminate some of the problems that we're having right now, the problem that we had last year, and will eliminate problems going forward. Those two.
Yeah.
I have a question from Messenger if y'all are done with this topic.
Please.
It kind of ties into this also anyways.
I'll be right back.
No problem. I have a brother that asked, why is the need for the rooms behind the curtains at Grand Lodge in the Grand East? Why are the past Grand Masters allowed to have that as their playground? Why can't they be forced to stay on the floor like everybody else and stay out of lodge business when it's past their year? I'm just curious as to why these past Grand Masters are not policed in some way to keep them from going around and telling different committees who the best person to vote for a certain position in Grand Lodge. I've personally seen that happen. And we're not supposed to politic, but I have personally seen somebody say, this guy is teachable. So if it's such a detriment to our fraternity, why are we allowing this to happen? Roberto, do you know why this happens? I know that those rooms are really for committees to meet and actually do Grand Lodge business in real time. But why would we allow this to happen?
It's so this is an interesting question. Again, just like a lodge, the past masters, or in this case, the past Grand Masters, they're supposed to be advisors, right? But they're not supposed to be puppet masters. There's a fine line. There's a difference between being a guy you go to and the guy that tells you what to do. And one of my mentors is past Grand Master Mike Nanny. He was Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Texas in 2002, past Master of Mount Lodge. And he is notorious for not saying anything to the Masters of Grand Lodge unless you ask him. Because he knows that his title as a past Grand Master will influence whatever he's doing just because he is that. So past Grand Master Mike Nanny is the guy that gets what the past in past Grand Master stands for. Is that if you make a decision, if you make an inference, if you make a suggestion, people are going to listen to you because that carries weight. Then you have other guys who shall remain nameless that use that past grand title as a badge of honor to be able to say, I'm part of this club, you're not, so we're going to do it this way, and we're going to talk about this in this room and keep you out of it, and we need to make sure that we have these things here. And that's where I have the problem. And that's where we've seen some of the things that have happened, is that those rooms in the back of Grand Lodge, instead of being used for their intended purpose, as there are a committee room where the committee can find the proper arguments and figure out what's happening at Grand Lodge, they become a place for past Grand Masters sequester themselves, or just influential people in general, and they make decisions that, well, what's going to happen. And the word past is there for a reason. We have one Grand Master in Texas, not puppet masters behind the scene.
I love honoring my brethren with titles, right? If you were serving as a district deputy Grand Master, I want to call you Right Worshipful all the time. If you're sitting Worshipful Master, I'm going to call you Worshipful Master every opportunity I get. Sure. But what would it be like if we truly elevated the Grand Masters to most Worshipful Grand Master and then brought them back down to the brotherhood and didn't give them the right worshipful title, you know, would we still have some of this, I guess, sticking noses in the air or anything like that, or do you think that would cut down on it?
We already do that at the Blue Lodge level. Lots of
We do it at
jurisdictions.
Blue Lodge level. Why don't we not do it in Grand Lodge?
Yeah, past master
We
is
do
a
do it in
worshipful
Grand Lodge
brother.
for the district deputies, right? The district deputies, whenever they're a past district deputy, like there is no such thing as a past district deputy in Texas.
No.
You're a former district deputy or a district deputy that served in 2020 whatever or 19 pick a number, right?
Yeah.
That's the that's we do that with district deputies.
I remember that year fondly.
That's
right?
that's the next meme. 19
But
Titles are great.
Sorry, I didn't mean to knock down your train of thought.
They but they're to me they are very overused, and we overuse them tremendously right now, and that's what's caused our level to think there's more steps than there should be. There's only 3 steps, gentlemen. Everything else is a hallway we decide we're going to walk down, and doors we're going to open. There's 3 steps, and that's it. And if everybody remembers that, which not everybody is, I promise you, then that's the problem. And I know where Roberto was going with this. He and I have known each other, what, 20 years, Roberto?
pretty close, man.
How long you been a Mason?
18, 19 years.
So about 18 or 19
Man,
years. I'm sure that's how long you've been a Mason.
Roberto, you just went down a notch in my book. I'm sorry.
But we've known each other for many years, and we've had these conversations many times. And if we don't remember that there's only one level, that's it. 3 steps, and we're all level. After that, it's just hallways we walk down. 32nd, 33rd degree Mason, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is just a hallway where they've opened up another door to get more light. That's it. It's not a step up. It is a hallway we walk down.
It's that whole thing that I've heard. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard it too. We're all on the level. Just some of us are more on the level than others. Like, are we? That was posted on one of my tees today. Somebody made that comment as a comparison. Like, I mean, and it's absolutely right.
Look, I just want to share real quick. Past Grand Master, that's one of my personal heroes, Tommy Griffin. His lodge is in District 44, where he is now out in Caldwell, Warren Lodge number 56, where he serves as a steward. Past Grand Master of Texas. Every time I leave his lodge, he has to shake his hands off to shake my hand goodbye because he's washing dishes.
I don't personally have an issue with titles, but I
that's
think
the kind of guy I want to be.
I think when you're done in the Grand East, you should be done with Grand Lodge for a period of time. I don't like you're on no committees. You're not doing anything. You're just a Mason in the quarries with everybody else. It's kind of like the same mentality where a lot of lodges will put the junior past master as Tyler outside the door. He's not in here. It's not his lodge anymore, and it's the same mentality. Just get him out of the Grand Lodge machine for a year or two, where he's just here with us, just working with us.
From the penthouse to the outhouse.
There you go.
Well, I feel a lot like Carlton, and I feel that way about 3 other past grandmasters. About, and I call them all most worshipful because I still love them that much. And that's most worshipful Brad Billings, most worshipful Ken Curry, and most worshipful Tommy Chapman. Every one of them have proven to be servant leaders, and after their time, they were just as devoted in helping Freemasonry along as they did before their time. One of my favorite lodge mentors, when I became master of my lodge, the thing that he said that made me the most happy is that I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm here to help you to do whatever you need to do because this is your time. This is not my time. This is your time. So you can count on me to be there for what needs to be done. that was probably the biggest and most impactful lesson I have ever learned in Freemasonry. That older past master, and this brother's 80 years old, and what's funny is he tells everybody, this is going to be the next Grand Master. This is going to be the next Grand Master. But he's been saying that for years, and everybody just blows him off. But that's his mentality. That help the next generation. Be the biggest cheerleader for those who are filling those shoes now. Don't be the biggest cohort that you can be. Be the biggest cheerleader.
Which past
And the
grandmaster?
second, no, that was the past master from my lodge. He was one of my lodge mentors.
Okay.
And I'll give you a past master quote too. The thing that I've said 100 times on this show is he would always tell me, if it's good for the lodge, do it. If it's not good for the lodge, don't do it. And he didn't talk about peace and harmony. He said, if it's good for the lodge, do it. If it's not good for the lodge, don't do it.
Yeah.
And so that took out all politics. It took out all everything, and put the focus on the lodge. And if I was going to leave it better than where I found it. Now, the other thing that I really loved about one of the past grandmasters is that he, for any young master that's out there, or any young brother that's out there that wants to know, how can I make a difference? He told me, you start with what's in front of you, and you do the best job you can do, and when that's successful, somebody is going to give you another job that's a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger, and a little bit bigger. And ultimately, you'll find yourself in a position that you never imagined.
There's a comment in the chat on YouTube. It's Thomas Schenk. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He says, I learned from a prince.
That, I would like to correct you, sir.
Okay, how do you say it?
That is most worshipful Thomas Schenk.
Oh, yeah.
From the Grand Lodge.
Most worshipful.
From the Grand Lodge.
Yes.
The most worshipful Grand Lodge of New Mexico. My personal friend and brother, and thank you for listening.
Can I tell a funny story about him right quick?
Yeah.
I want to share this story. So I was in New Mexico on vacation in Ruidoso a couple years ago, and there were some fires in Bridal Canyon, and fires just devastated all of New Mexico at the time, right? So I'm like, man, I'm going to contact Ruidoso Lodge, see if there's anything I can do video-wise to promote their cause, see if they got any charities going on, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And so I get in contact with Right Worshipful Steve and contact him, and he's like, okay, I'll get you set up. This is who you're going to meet in Ruidoso. Cool to go. Get down there, and my kids go with me wherever I go in Masonry, right? It's just part of the deal. You want fluff, you're going to have my kids too.
Mine too.
So I think my youngest son was 3 at the time, and we just got to the potty training stage, and we pull up to the lodge, and the first thing my 3-year-old says is, Dad, I got to poop. And I'm like,
you didn't give him a cup, did you?
No.
Okay.
Shame on you, Dennis.
No, Dennis rolls.
Shame on you. No, but anyways, I'm
Where's
like,
your poop cup at?
We just.
I just gave myself goosebumps. I'm sorry. Let me shake these off.
I knock on the door, and this brother opens up the door, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I got to burst in. Where's the restroom at? My kid's got to poop. And he's like, oh, it's over here. It's over here. So we go through the whole day, right? Kid uses restroom. Everything's fine. We go through the whole day. And I do an interview with Most Worshipful. I do an interview with the Worshipful Master of the Lodge, and I'm trying to get all the titles and names right at the end so I can credit it right in the video. I was like, okay, what is your name and what is your title again, and how do you spell it and everything like that? And he's like, oh, I'm a Deputy Grand Master of New Mexico. And I was like, oh, man, I hadn't called you Right Worshipful at all today. I hadn't said anything right. I've been more worried about my kids and stopping up your toilet than anything. I apologize for not doing my part in really introducing myself in the proper manner. And he's like, well, you said it just fine. You called me brother. And so, I mean, that's my relationship with him. And he is such
I absolutely love Most Worshipful and Right Worshipful. And really all the brothers in New Mexico because of that very reason. I haven't met more real brothers than them.
Y'all are
And
going to
it does
MasonicCon with me next year, right?
When's
maybe
that?
they'll be in Waco in January at
Well,
our
no.
Masonic Improvement Dinner. I'll also be at Grand Lodge in March
Yeah, I want to go to their
I'll be
Grand
at
Lodge.
Grand
in New
Lodge in
Mexico.
March.
Let me share what he
Yeah,
said.
we'll see you there. But
So-
I just wanted to say there's not a more loving group of brothers than the New Mexico. It's like going to Mexico, and Roberto can attest to this. Man, there's a certain way there's a certain way you shake, and you hug, pat, and then you shake again. That's how you greet a brother in Mexico, and New Mexico's the same way.
And you
there's
wash
a
your
lot of
hands
love.
before you rub your eyes because green chilies burn.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Justin, you better go.
Yeah. All right. So, Marshall, I apologize. I saw your name, but it didn't click. But he said, if I may, Dennis, he says, I learned from a Prince Hall past Grand Master that PGM means power's gone, man.
Nice. Nice.
That said, we've been doing this 2 hours. It's 11 o'clock at night on a Wednesday. So
You're a pansy.
I like to open up to final thoughts at this time.
You don't have school tomorrow.
I know.
Dude,
This
it's
guy.
11
This guy.
o'clock.
Freaking millennials. I'm telling you.
I'm being considerate. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Carlton, I can't hear you.
I have a final thought. The Masonic Pop-Up Show at Grand Lodge. Please remember that Illinois Masonic Regalia, Square Image, my buddy Gary Rock with Rock and Stitch will be out there. North
Well, I'm
Star
not his buddy, though.
Collectibles. What's that?
I'm not his buddy, though.
Hey,
I'm
that's
just
right.
Square Image. I'm not his buddy. I'm just.
Oh, is that your company?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I thought you were Square Peg. Square
Hey,
Image.
you got that right.
You just square.
You got that right.
North Star Collectibles, the author John Nagy will be there with his books, and the guys from San Antonio Hat Company with our full line of illegal products and Hawaiian shirts and such will all be there. And thanks to Dave and Carrie McCam for setting that up.
Yes.
It's a 2-minute walk from the Grand Lodge to the adjacent library.
Hey,
Right,
and
that's
one last thing on the pop-up shop. San Antonio Hat Company has a special offering. If you want to pre-order a hat like Dennis and I are wearing tonight, this hat was last year's Grandmaster hat. San Antonio Hat Company has a special offering at the Grand Lodge that we will have at Grand Lodge. Pre-order because they're going fast. I don't know that I can have them made as fast as they're selling, guys. So email me and we'll get you on the list and we'll get you a hat. Okay. If you want one of these, you got to contact us.
I think there's a reason they're selling pretty fast.
Imagine that.
Yeah, right. Let me go ahead and go because I had some thoughts I wanted to share, and then I'll let everyone else. Someone mentioned peace and harmony earlier, and I've always said, like, we put peace and harmony. I'm not condoning chaos, but I think we put peace and harmony up on this pedestal where we sacrifice the well-being of our lodge for the sake of immediate peace and harmony, even if it will create chaos and disharmony throughout the entire year. We want peace and harmony right now. So we'll at our lodges we'll elect someone that we don't think is a good leader because it creates peace and harmony, but it'll create disharmony throughout the entire year. We have to get past that as a lodge. We have to stop putting peace and harmony up on this pedestal and be willing to whisper the words of counsel and make the hard decisions that may create disharmony at that time, but will create longevity and health for the lodge in the long term. And we have to be willing to do that at the grand scale also. Mm-hmm. It might get a little chaotic. It might look like an arena, but if we want this grand jurisdiction to stop being the laughingstock of the world, and if we want to correct this ship and right the wrongs of this year, we have to understand that it might get chaotic and there might be some disharmony for a few hours. But if we can walk out after a grand session knowing that we have the right people in place, the right leadership, and we're going to have peace and harmony for the year, and we can have peace and harmony for the years following, that's worth a little bit of chaos. We have to be willing to tolerate that in the short term, be uncomfortable for a little bit, knowing that we are finally fixing the issues that we have. Something else I want to share, I was thinking about earlier today, because it was Roberto made a post. I don't know if it was a post he made today or yesterday, but he mentioned a yes man at the Grand Lodge that I had previously had in pretty high regards, and it really got me thinking. So I'm a nerd, and it got me thinking about Star Wars. I saw something about Darth Vader or something. It got me thinking. It's like people had to know that Empire was evil, right? Those Jedi had been taught about the dark side for generations, and then when it reared its ugly head, they were tempted by that power. People that had been good, that had done good things, were tempted by that dark side and tempted by that power. We're seeing a parallel right now. There's a dark side of Texas Freemasonry. We have Sith in our Grand Lodge right now. And we have good men, or we thought were good men, previously good men, that are being tempted by that power, being tempted by that dark side. And to what end? To what end? I mean, do you want to? This is so dorky, but just bear with me here. I mean, do you want to be in the Empire? Do you want that kind of Masonic Freemasonry? Do you want stormtroopers at Grand Lodge? Well, we're getting close to it, right? So my point is, like, we have to, and I get it, man. I get it's so dorky, but we have to look at it like these are people that are making evil decisions, doing evil things in a fraternity that is meant to bring darkness to light. We're supposed to be the light of the world, and they're doing things in secret. They're being bad people. We have to root this out, and we cannot tolerate this. It cannot keep going. Dennis was talking about earlier about people complaining about all the stuff that's being posted, or maybe it was Roberto, someone that's complaining about all the things that are being posted. When you see a big pile of trash and you flip it over, and it has rats and mice, they squeak and run away. It's interesting to see when you bring this stuff to light, who squeaks the most and who scampers off, because that's the rat and the mice. Those are the ones they don't like the light because they're being exposed. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I want to go back to your peace and harmony comment, Justin. I let peace and harmony push me out of my lodge for 5 years because I thought I was doing what peace and harmony prevailing needed, and what I was really doing was allowing that bad stuff to take root and take hold of the lodge. And it took a ton of guys stepping up and saying, okay, we've had enough. And I lost a coin toss and got thrown back in the east of that lodge. And we had to straighten it out. And we got it turned right. And then we let tradition prevail again. And here we go again. So, we've got to stop doing that at our lodge level. If we stop doing it at our lodge level, we got to stop doing it at our Grand Lodge level. Yep. It only makes sense. We have to stop allowing tradition to prevail for the wrong reasons. If a Mason has proven himself and has shown that he can handle the things that Masonry requires throughout the course of the trustees and the Grand Junior Ward and Grand Senior Ward, then by all means, he needs to be Grand Master. But if throughout the course he has shown that he is not the person we thought he was when we voted him to the Grand South, then we need to stop him dead in his tracks. Mm-hmm. That's our job. That's all of our job. We've tried, we whispered, we talked, we've yelled from the mountaintops, counsel at a lot of these guys. And now it's time to just stop it. Enough's enough. We're done. Roberto, am I correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll take that as my cue to kind of give my 2 cents on this, but brethren, there's a storm brewing, and it's been brewing for a long time. We've seen what's happened this year, and it's not going to stop, and that's why I stood up. I've been publishing the tea so everybody in Texas Freemasonry is aware of what's happening, that they know the backroom antics that have been taking place, and I have put the biggest target on my back for y'all. I gain nothing from this. I'm doing this because Texas Masonry as a whole deserves better. And if we don't stand together, if we don't stand up against the oppression that is happening and fight for our own fraternity, then it's ours to lose, and we didn't deserve it in the first place. Masonry is a huge gift, and some of us are squandering it. And our building, our Grand Lodge, and our whole fraternity as a whole, it's crumbling around us because of selfish egos, the idea that I'm important because I have an office and what I say goes. And that's not Masonry. And the more that we think about that, and the more that we allow things like this to happen, the more that if anybody comes up with a good idea that's going to grow our fraternity and that's going to do what's right, they're going to be shut down and spearheaded and pushed to the side, and that's going to be the end of this. We see Brad Billings last year, and whether you like him, love him, hate him, it is undisputable that there was more enthusiasm, more energy, and more activity in that year than probably in the last 20 years put together, because you had a man with ideas that was doing things. Whether you like him or hate him, like, that is undisputable. It wasn't about a conference where you go pat himself on the back. It was a conference where you had brotherhood and things going on, and you could bring your families. There was ideas. There was something going on. And some people didn't like that, and they wanted to make sure they punished him because they were losing that power because people wanted to be like him. People were pushing for that individual, and that's not Mason. And then we had the issue where I mean, go read the teas. They're all there. I have all the documentation attached to it. A storm is there, and if we don't bound together, if we don't stand up to this oppression, we're going to lose this fraternity. And it's going to become, as Justin said, it's going to be the Sith Lord. Order 66 is upon us. They're taking out all the Jedis. This is happening, and if you haven't seen it, you are blind as a bat. Wow. This was on YouTube. This was put there. Like, the order's out there, and they're taking us out one by one, and nobody has stood up to do anything. And that's why I have that target on my back, and that's why I'm asking the rest of you guys. Bound together. Stand up. If you think the guy that's going to be Grand Master is the best guy, vote for him. Whoever it is. But voice your opinion, because that's your job as a Master Mason, or as a past Master in this case, as the guy that's bound with it. That is your duty. That is your duty. Fight for your Grand Lodge, or watch it be taken away by the thunderstorm. It's your call. Either you have Order 66 or Order 86. Pick a side. Pick a side.
Thank you for picking up my analogy, Roberto. I feel a lot better now.
Amen, brother.
By the way, it was real popular in the YouTube chat too, Dennis, just so you know.
I want to say something about this. If it wasn't obvious from the first seconds, and I'm just going to say it. I'm going to call it out and say it like it is. If it's not obvious how this year was going to go from the first seconds of G. Clay's time of being installed, then you missed out on some huge clues. The very first words that the man said after being installed as most worshipful Grand Master of Texas is, "This has been one of the most difficult days of my life." When I'm sitting here thinking, as man, if I put that many years in the craft and then I dedicated service to the craft and they elected me to serve on this grandiose level, like, this would be one of the greatest days of my life. This would be right underneath having kids and, finding God and being baptized, whatever. This is one of those top 5 moments in life. But no, he decided to stand up there after failing at not letting Right Worshipful Rumsey get installed, after failing and continuing on with his speech because the man cannot look ahead, and saying, "This has been one of the most difficult days of my life." That right there meant that 2023 is going to be one of the most difficult years of Texas Freemasonry, and by God, they've proved it. You know, we don't
He
need to
had-
look. We don't need to look at this and be afraid of things coming up. We don't need to look at this with disappointment, but we need to look at this and say, you know what? If you're not proud to be a Texas Freemason, if you're not proud to be the Grand Master, if you're not proud of the fraternity that you're in and leading, maybe you don't need to do it, you know?
He had a golden opportunity to ride the wave of what Masonry could be.
He decided to ride his horse with
And
the cowboy code of
instead,
ethics.
he decided to get on the boat and go back to doing it the same way that they've always done it. He could have had the greatest year ever if he'd have just built on the foundation that was laid in 2022.
What did he
And he
do that
didn't.
was different than what Ken Curry did or what Paul Underwood did?
Okay, so I think he did a couple of different things different. Okay. He started off by building a team around him. Okay.
Mhm.
And the team
We're talking about Billings.
concepts. Yeah, talk about Brad.
No, I'm
Billings.
not talking about Billings. I'm talking about G. Clay. What did he do
Okay.
different than those other guys? Because really and truly, I didn't see anything too different except, you know, trying to put charges on everybody.
Well, the problem is that he tried to use charges as a weapon. Okay. And he's using them as a weapon instead of as a way to deal with real issues and deal with real problems. And when you weaponize anything, we're Masons. We're not supposed to do that. We shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't use weapons. We defend ourselves and we move forward. You know, we teach everybody to be better men than what they were when they came in. And if we're not doing that, if we can't do that, then we're going the wrong direction. Weaponizing Title V is one of the worst offenses I've seen in Masonry in my 20 plus years of doing it. It's horrible. And there are too many people involved in it that, you know, it dates to some, I mean, these past Grand Masters being involved with all this stuff with him and pulling the strings that, you know, they're puppet masters. They're pulling the strings here and they think it's going to end well. And it's not. There's no way that this ends properly, or that this ends in a better way for Masonry, for Texas Masonry. It only gets worse. The road, the path they're driving us down is that great big broad path that leads to you know where. We're supposed to be following a narrow path. And that narrow path makes each other better.
Mm-hmm.
We support our brethren. We put our hand on their back. We help them off the ground when we need to. And we talk to our maker when we're on our bended knee. We're not doing that. We're not being Masons. And that's what's going on right now. There's no Masonry being involved. It's all a power trip. You know, and when you seek power, like the Sith, you know, here we go. We need a new hope. We need the return of the Jedi. Here's where we're at. That's where we're at in Masonry. We need a new hope. We need the return of the Jedi. And guys, I promise you, there's people out there that can right this ship. There are groups out there that want to right this ship. If you don't know who they are, start asking questions.
Don't elect Palpatine just because it's how it's always been.
No doubt.
Don't take nominations from Jar Jar Binks, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Come on.
Amen.
Jar Jar, right there. Cool. Well,
Has everybody given their? I haven't given mine. You don't even.
We're gonna start giving you Dennis minutes, and you have so many per episode.
End it now. End it now.
And like I think you used yours all up in the first 3 hours.
Yeah.
In the first 3 minutes, I used all mine up because I talk fast.
If that was 3 minutes, that was the longest 30 minutes of my life.
I actually took
He
notes,
gets his hours
guys.
and minutes mixed up.
You know,
The little hand and the big.
I'm auditioning for Grand Order, guys. So I got a couple of things.
Grand Lodge
that,
is only 3 days long.
Auctioneer, is that what you said?
Do what?
Grand auctioneer, is that what you said?
Grand auctioneer. I can do that too.
I got the
Knights and
Masonry
the Grand
Jester.
Dennis, we will,
All right.
we will permit you to speak now.
Of course you will.
Maybe.
I
Brother,
demand
I
it.
got to say goodnight. I got to get to the hospital early in the morning. So you guys take it easy.
No
Thanks.
way,
Oh,
man. You
know
cannot
what?
deny me.
I gotta go too. I just realized.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I'm sorry. I've got to cash it in. Mrs. Newberry has given me.
I know you.
We
Yeah,
appreciate
I
you
know
helping
you
on
have
this
a
evening.
real reason. So, thank you. We love you.
I got
And,
a
good
lot
luck
of hard
tomorrow.
no's on TikTok when you said you want to be grand orator. Like that's probably the most comments I've had tonight. A lot of hard no's.
Awesome. Do I need to dance for them? Will that make them feel better?
Don't
Do I need to do one of those things? I don't
We
even know.
preferred
what
if you didn't. You know, I'm trying to stay in community
Want me to-
guidelines.
Yeah.
What if I pop a zit? What if I pop a zit?
All
All
right.
right.
What's your final thoughts?
I know that was wrong on so many levels. All right, so final thoughts. Peace and harmony. It was funny because I was thinking of a different thought when you said, don't put peace and harmony on a pedestal. I was thinking, yeah, you don't put the P on a pedestal. It always lets you down. But here's I guess that's just too over your head, child. But here's the reality on peace and harmony. Peace and harmony is not an end result. I've said it a million times on this show. Peace and harmony is what's in here. Peace and harmony is the intent that you have when you go to speak with your other brother. I tell everyone, I challenge you to change my mind. That creates peace and harmony because no matter how difficult the discussion, you can always know that I'm willing to change my mind if you give a good enough reason. If you back up your facts, I'm willing to change my mind. And that in itself creates peace and harmony. I'm not skirting anything. I want that conversation. But in that conversation, you know, and I know that at the end of it, I'm going to hug you and I'm going to love you for respecting me enough to have that conversation. That's peace and harmony in my book. As far as whoever is brought to the floor this year, they need to have a multiple year plan. This is not a one and done. I mean, we've got people now. The next 2 years have been proven that they're going to be just like this year because they assisted in everything that happened this year that was negative towards our fraternity. So the next 2 years, we have to consider that it will be the same, just because tradition will prevail if tradition prevails, right? So that's something you better keep in mind when the nominations come, because they will come. So make the right decisions. You'll know who the right decisions are when you start seeing who brings those nominations. You'll know who those right decisions are for you, because the people that bring the nominations are the people that feel the exact same way you do right now. The same ones that are listening to this right now, watching this, they're the ones who care enough to go to Grand Lodge and make that vote. We've got too many people doing the popcorn memes online. We're done with popcorn. It's time to get serious and intentional with our Freemasonry. We don't have time to sit around and watch what everybody's doing. And even Brother Fluff proves that. As a Master Mason, without a vote, he's going to Grand Lodge because it matters to him. And because those things that come from Grand Lodge that he takes back to his lodge matter to his lodge. And vice versa. He's going to take the will of his lodge to Grand Lodge with him. Whether he's got the vote or not, he's going to be talking with everybody around him, just like all of us are. And we're all going to be telling people what the will of our lodges are, because that's what matters. That's what's going to change Grand Lodge. That's what's going to change our Freemasonry, is when we realize that it's up to us to make that trajectory. So the multiple year plan, don't think that just one nomination and one vote's going to do it. The people that are nominated have a plan, or should have a plan. And you're going to know when they're nominated and they make it, you're going to know who that next person nominated that will work well with others, that plays well in the sandbox. You'll know. You'll know who it is. It's going to be obvious.
Love it.
So, my true and trusted friends, they're servant leaders. They're not guys they're not the peacocks of the fraternity. We're good at giving everybody our titles and unearned accolades and this and that. And yeah, it's great to have these different degrees, but that's what they are, is degrees. That's why they're called degrees. They're not different levels. They're not different pedestals. They're degrees. And if you've ever noticed, degrees on a plane are like this. The level of time is like this, and you're going through degrees in that level of time. Keep that in mind. You're not higher than anybody else because the apron you wear or the collar on your shoulders. It tells us that when we become a Master Mason, that no matter what's upon our shoulders, whether it's purple or not, we are all on the level, and we need to remember that. Don't forget the MI dinner is the Masonic Improvement Dinner will be going on, as well as first, before that, we will all be meeting over at the courtesy or the hospitality suite, the Newberry Hospitality Suite over at the Hilton. And we'll be meeting our Grand Secretary and our Grand Treasurer, our elected Grand Secretary and our elected Grand Treasurer at the hospitality suite, and we'll get to visit with them and make sure and show them the love and support that they really deserve, because they do deserve it. They've been through hell this year, and they did not deserve that. We need to show them some love and some support.
And they're also at Grand Lodge today, working at Grand Lodge on the facility,
working their ass off. Yeah,
like they just basically
they're trying. They tried to
working.
Fire them. Yeah, they tried to fire them, and they still give their time to the fraternity because they love it, not because they're getting paid, because those duties have been taken away. Those things have been taken away, but because they love the fraternity and they love what it stands for. So remember that. We're going to meet them first before we go have our dinner, and then we're going to meet up with Right Worshipful Roberto Sanchez at 11 p.m. at Barnett's Whiskey Bar, and we're going to listen to an awesome talk that he has that I absolutely can't wait for. And then we're going to go back to the hospitality suite and have some good fellowship, build those bonds, those memories. The reason why we get together from all walks of the nation, we get together to share those moments and be able to prove why our brotherhood is the best in the world.
I love it. It's going to be a great time.
Fellowship. That's what all that is about, is building our brotherhood.
Cool.
So what was different? You asked what was different about this Grand Master. I'll tell you exactly what was different, and I had this discussion with somebody the other day. This Grand Master thought that he could come in and everybody would just follow suit because he was Grand Master. Not because he was doing the right thing, not because they felt like he knew what he was doing, or that he thought that, or that they thought that he was doing what was best for the fraternity. He actually thought that people would just follow suit because of the ring, or actually the collar, the ring around his neck. That's what's different about this one. He didn't come to serve us. He came to serve himself. And that's very apparent. And that's what's different. And it's sad that I even say that. And if it wasn't true, I wouldn't say it. I always speak the truth. I always speak the truth. Even with Justin.
You're really trying to bring
this
the
with this next team. Yeah. With this next team, I'm very certain that there are a lot of good brothers that have been chosen for the team that's to come. Not everyone will probably fit the mold for what's probably going to happen in Grand Lodge. So I can assure you that the most active and positive force in Freemasonry in 20 years will be happy to show up again and support whoever is elected as Grand Master. I guarantee you, members of the 22 team and those that we love and hold dear to us will step up if it's necessary. I guarantee you that, because there has not been anything worse than watching a legacy we worked so hard for, that we were so inspired in, just go to crap.
Yep.
Nothing has been harder than to watch that happen, because it wasn't just Brad Billings that made everything happen last year. He inspired our team, and our team inspired the fraternity. And it's because of everyone else that it made our grand jurisdiction great. And I guarantee you that those same people would love to see that happen again and will give everything they've got. If the brothers that are chosen already are not willing to do that, I guarantee you brothers will step in and take care of business that already know how to do it.
Can I make a quick observation?
And they'll do it with servant leadership.
Because you mentioned the district deputies. How often do you see district deputies keep wearing?
I said the team, not the district deputies.
Well, okay. How long? Well, I'm talking about district deputies though. How often do you see district deputies continuing to wear the tie of their year for years on end after? Not a whole lot. I see a lot of district deputies. They still wear their Billings colors. They still wear those ties. They still wear those vests. They are soldiers in the grass.
And you will see them at Grand Lodge in great numbers, I assure you.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be wearing the blue at Grand Lodge all year. I've worn black, and I haven't made any big reference to it, but I've been in mourning all year. But it has been the black ties and the black stuff of Grandmaster Billings. It has been, but I have been in mourning all year, and I will be until Grand Lodge, and then I'm bringing back the blue. So just so that you know. But you're right. No matter where I go, I don't go anywhere that I don't see somebody supporting Grandmaster Billings.
I mean, look at the hats they're selling off the shelf.
Oh yeah. He inspired us. He really did. And whoever's next better inspire us the same way.
Well, that's because nobody likes UT. Like, I'm not going to sit here in Lubbock, Texas, and buy a freaking Longhorn coin. I'm just not going to do it.
There's nothing else. That is so
true.
There's nothing esoteric about it. There's nothing Masonic about it. It's a dumbass cow on a coin. I'm sorry.
For the oil rig.
I got a tie for
oh yeah, deputy. Yeah. Tell me.
Trash.
Oh my gosh.
I don't wear that. That's stupid.
That's the only dark spot in my shadow box.
District instructor. I got district instructor. I got ties. Like, I'm not gonna wear that.
That's the only dark spot in my shadow box, is the dark spot of this year, because I didn't buy a damn thing for this year, and I won't. I don't care when it goes for $2 in 5 years. Well, which will probably be next year. When it goes for $2 to get rid of the stuff, I'm not gonna buy any of that junk at all. I won't.
But they have more merchandise left over than any other Grandmaster that I know of. And when you look at the merchandise last year, there's nothing left. That's the reason why we're running a special run of the hats, because there's nothing left. There's none. There's none.
Right. Exactly.
Can't even find a coin or a pin.
Yep.
It reminds us of better times.
Like I said, coming after us the next 2 years will just be the same thing that we're dealing with this year. We're predestined to see it. They've already boasted, or at least one of them has boasted, that that's going to happen. And so if you like what has happened this year, just go ahead and let tradition prevail, or just don't even show up.
Yeah.
Because you're saying Freemasonry doesn't matter to you if you like the trajectory that we've taken this year.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it.
No, I think you're being factual. I think there will be more charges. This will continue. If we're allowed to.
In fact, it's been said that they're going to go after people like me next year. They're already looking for ways to file charges on people who are standing up against it. So what do I have to lose at this point? But to tell you to do the right thing at Grand Lodge.
Yeah.
What do I have to lose?
Yeah.
But I can tell you one thing for sure. The worst thing they could do for themselves is take away my obligation to them. Because I got a podcast and I'm not afraid to use it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
take the leash off and see what we have to say. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. All right, everybody.
So the final thing is CEOs create vision. That's what our Grandmaster is supposed to be. He's supposed to be the CEO of the corporation, right? And he's the chairman of the trustees. That's his job. He's supposed to create vision. And the vision for this year has been dark, just like Justin said, just like everybody has said throughout this night. And we need somebody who's going to come in with fresh vision, who cares about unity, because that's going to be the most important thing, because our craft has been torn in half. Not in pieces, straight up half in Texas. And we need to come back together. And so whoever it is, we're going to have to work together to bring back the unity in Texas. And it's going to take every one of us here on this podcast, and it's going to take every one of us that are listening to this show and watching it on YouTube. It's going to take us all. So get ready, be ready, show up, be a part of the fellowship, even if you can't vote. Let your voice be heard, because you are a member of this Grand Lodge, not a voting member, but you're a member. And you deserve to have better Freemasonry than what you have today. I love you, brothers. Keep it between the points.